Shalom, everybody. Shalom to everybody that's coming into the room. It's good to see you. Shalom to Black Star Power 911, BO 9263. What's up, brother? Paul Rogers. Shalom. Marcy Lee. Kashmir G. Chris. Yahuwah. Mia's Page, UK. Hey, how you doing from the UK? Sugar and Spice. Story Revealed. Shelly W. Beautiful sis. Okay, while I have time, Albert Bird, shalom. Now, while I have time, is there anyone that anybody in here that's interested in being moderator? Please let me know. You know, that way I can mod you now. Shalom to everybody coming into the room. Shalom. Makia Harris, Crystal Clear, Sherry, Mr. Lawrence. Okay, let me go ahead and mod a few people up. Shalom, daughter of the Most High Tribe of Benjamin. Shalom. Jewel Gillette, Paulette, Hatfield. Shalom, Larry.
Well, Lisa, how you doing? It's information.
Oh, how you doing, brother? So glad to have you on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
I actually was going to have you on a while back, but I said, you know what? I got to have the perfect topic to have you on. And I think we're going to be able to chop it up and have a good time. I'm so glad that you're doing well.
Oh, yeah, I'm doing well. Lots going on, but I feel good. I'm doing well. I got a lot of other things in my life that are a lot more challenging.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that happens.
Living life.
Life was not turbulent for us. I don't know what would we do with ourselves, right?
Exactly. You're so right about that. So right about that. Can you hear me? Can you hear me fine?
You sound crystal clear. Okay. I can hear you crystal clear.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that everything is set up right on my part, and everybody can hear me.
You sound great.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me on, and I feel very honored. You know, I really I like what you do, the topics that you touch on. You really get deep under the surface.
Well,
most people don't touch on it.
Yeah, well, we're going to really get deep today. I don't know if you had I don't know if you had an opportunity to listen to my video over on Black Junction.
Oh, you may have to give me a refresher.
Well, I'm going to play it for you. It had me fuming.
Okay, I'm going to be listening up. I'm all ears.
So I'm going to play it for you, and as well as the people in the chat that's still coming in. But,
all right. I want to say much love to everybody in the chat room that I see. Thank you for being here. Appreciate your support. That's what I have to say. It's great to see folks.
Let me share my screen here. Okay, here we go. Brother, let me just set this up for you because I was fuming when I saw this one. Right. This one really got me.
Here we go.
They are actually selling and trading police brutality bonds on Wall Street. And I'm going to let you listen to this.
Are you serious?
I am dead serious. I'm going to let you listen to this. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank one of my subscribers, Ann Gordon, for this disgusting article. Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to find out why America and the politicians never push any legislation to get rid of police violence. The reason why they won't get rid of police violence is because they are literally making $1 billion a year off of police brutality on Wall Street. And I looked and found other sites that talk about these police brutality bonds. And there are full reports on it too. And this is a PDF right here, 40 pages long. Wait until you find out what these police brutality bonds that they sell on Wall Street and the banks are benefiting from and making $1 billion a year. What are police brutality bonds? As the costs of police misconduct rise, cities and counties across the United States are going into debt to pay for it. Wouldn't it just make sense to stop brutalizing people? No, they'd rather go in debt. Often this debt is in the form of bond borrowing. When cities or counties issue bonds to pay these costs, banks and other firms collect fees for the services they provide, and investors collect interest. The use of bonds to pay for settlements and judgments greatly increase the burden of policing costs on taxpayers, while producing a profit for banks and investors. Using bonds to pay for settlements or judgments can nearly double the cost of the original settlement. All of this is paid for by taxpayers. These police brutality bonds quite literally allow banks and wealthy investors to profit from police violence. This is a transfer of wealth from communities, especially over-policed communities of color, to Wall Street and wealthy investors, and it needs to stop. And they have a petition here to stop police brutality bonds. Now, the NOI also put their article out about these police brutality bonds, dated July 24th, 2018. Wall Street and the wealthy profiting from police violence. You ever notice how the politicians are always pushing new crime bills or new bills to protect cops? But they never seem to be interested in pushing any type of bills to stop police violence in the Black community. Now you know why. It is a big profit for them to keep the police violence going than to end it. They are making $1 billion a year on police violence. This is why they are never going to do anything about it. Now you know the reason why they always go silent. Both the Democrats and Republicans go completely silent on police brutality. A report released last month by the Action Center on Race and Economy Institute found that a number of cities and counties paid out $1.87 billion for what activists described as police brutality bonds, and corporate titans like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Goldman Sachs made more than $1 billion in profit for investors who buy these bonds. They are brutalizing us and making $1 billion off of our pain, suffering, and death. This, ladies and gentlemen, takes hate to a whole new level. This is absolutely disgusting. I don't know, how do you grow to hate a people this much? How do you do it? This is just pure evil right here. There's no other way to describe it. Some of our nation's largest corporates, entities have made $1 billion in profits off of police violence, said Maurice BP Weeks, an Acre co-executive director. While we fight to hold violent officers and police departments accountable to our communities, we must also work to hold banks and investors accountable for their role in perpetuating and profiting from our existing system. Now you know why the prosecutors don't do anything. The courts are always letting these cops walk out. These corporations, we have seen companies come forward and say they support the police in this country. Now you know why, ladies and gentlemen. Now you know why. They're all profiting off of our demise. So being that they have these police brutality bonds, they got a ton of money to pay out for all of the brutalization their cops are doing. They're making it all on Wall Street. This absolutely sickens me. You know, you got to understand every part of crime they make money on. They make apparently money from police brutality. Then the coroner's office and all the detectives and all the people investigating a murder, they're making a ton of money. And a ton of money is being made in the funeral business. So yeah, they would rather see you dead because that means a lot of money for them, ladies and gentlemen. So that cop was right. That police chief that said it's better to kill them than to injure them. Now we know what he means. This is all tying together now. I can't do this, y'all. I'll leave the links to the article and the petition and everything in the description box. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video because this is absolutely disgusting to me. It really, truly is. Peace, family.
All right, brother. What do you think?
Well, let me just first say, am I sounding right? Let me see. Let me first say that it's completely the most disgusting reality that I've heard. But, and I put a but in there, and I know you shouldn't always say but to something. I'm not surprised because of the origins of the policing system. As you know, sister, the slave patrols that came out of the plantation, the
Yes.
overseers. You had many of the bounty hunters. When people were walking around here with some damn raccoon hats on, talking about Davy Crockett and pioneers. Well, those pioneers were hunting down your people. We got black people bragging about, oh, my grandmother is Cherokee. Well, a lot of the Cherokee Indians, there were some native tribes that were involved in bounty hunting us, working for the white man. See, a lot of people want to be Native American, but then they don't want to deal with the history, especially how they're treating the freemen today or have. When you look at what is the one thing that America is built on? Economics is built on the dollar. And what is that? The dollar is recoverable and people are expendable.
Yes.
And this goes back into slavery. And it also goes back into, what is that? Eugenics. Get rid of people that you deem as unworthy of being alive. So it also plays into depopulation. So you depopulate us by killing us brutally, and then you get paid for it. And then it's all connected, Lisa. You've got the private prisons.
Right.
Okay? There was, did you hear of this? I think it was in your neck of the woods. There was a judge who was sending black men to these private prisons on the most lowest type of crimes that they usually would just get a fine for.
Yeah.
And he purposely sending them to a private prison because he had investments in this private prison. And eventually he got found out. And of course, you know, they brought him up against charges for whatever, for what he did for the private prisons. You've got these, I know right now in California, because California has an overcrowding of prisons, and they've let certain guys out of prison who don't have what you would call a violent crime on their record. But they've also been talking about transporting guys from California into places like Minnesota and various states that have these private prisons to take up the population, because we have such an overflow of population here.
Right.
In,
you know why, right? You know why, right?
Go right ahead. I want to hear your take on it. And
Sure. By the way, Magic City Photography, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Thank you. What happens is, brother, when they do the corporations make these contracts with the state, and what they do is they promise to keep the prisons at 90% capacity so that the corporate work can get done. So then in turn, the cops will grab anybody young enough to handle that work in the prisons, and they get paid for each arrest. I mean, the whole thing is just a monetary system.
Remember back in the day, they would say that crime doesn't pay. It does pay. It pays the judge, it pays the lawyers, it pays the correctional officer, it pays the officers out there in the field. It pays the whole system is paying. Now,
you know what, brother, I knew somebody that was in a private prison.
Wow.
And he told me it is a lot of suicide. But he was telling me a lot of things are getting labeled suicide, but those correction officers and those officials that are running it, they're doing a lot of that killing in there. But, you know, it gets labeled as suicide.
Well, I've recently looked at the statistics here in California.
Uh-huh.
Do you know that a majority, now this is what they say. I tried to tell someone one time, Lisa, on a program, and it got all crazy, that statistics can be manipulated, right? Yeah. So when you tell Black people, not to get too far off topic here, when you tell Black people that we're about 13.5%, how do we really know that? For example,
no,
most of the statistics numbers that we get are usually numbers that white folks have come up with, and I'll just leave it at that. So with that said,
we know what the history is with them.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. I'm setting the premise for what I'm about to say. The numbers that I looked at displayed that most prisoners, most humans, Black men, Latino men, even white men, most of them in California prisons are dying of things like failed liver disease, heart attacks, chest pains, because unfortunately, a large number of the prison population do have substance issues. Okay. Now, what they would paint to you is that their guys are dying in prison because they're fighting each other. That's not true. It's about 20%, about 10 to 20% of them are dying because of battling with each other. The rest of it is all medical related. And I know for a fact, just from experience, that these officers will do things called obsessive force. They will go they'll go too far. And then I've had guys come to our clinic and say things like, they're poisoning my food. And of course, because I work in mental health, a lot of times we'll think that the guy is delusional, but I've had guys that have come across my table or across my desk, and I knew someone is doing something to their food. You could just tell, there's something being tampered with their food. Guys are very paranoid about who's coming in their cells. They'll say they're coming in my cells at night. There's a prison in California. I think it's Ironwood or Iron Creek, one of the most racist prisons in California. Most guys that come from there are saying they want to get the hell out of there. So bad. It's in a little town that's mostly not diverse, and a lot of the guys that come from down south do not like being in that prison because of the racism that goes on. Another thing you should check out, Sister Lisa, and everyone in the chat room listening, especially in California, check out a organization called Prison Industries. It's an industry, Prison Industries. Do you know that if me and you make a phone call to our family, it won't cost us as much. But the guys that are incarcerated, they're double charging them for their phone calls home. They're double charging them to mail their packages off. They're double charging them for everything. They're making, prison industry is the one that makes the clothes. They bring in the food, the shoes, everything that the inmates are wearing.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I had a troll had the and hello to everybody that just came into the chat, and special shout out to Warrior Constant Speak. Good to see you, sister. I had a troll that had the audacity to say to me, Black people are the most violent. Look who's in prison. I said, no. I said, see, your prison is packed with Black people because that's proof of your racism. It's proof of the racist system that has been in place for 5 centuries. That's what that is proof of. That's not proof of anybody's violence. But isn't it ironic, brother? Most of the Black men in there are in there for non-violent drug offenses. But lately, haven't we been hearing about, especially with the stabbing in California, you notice all of these white dudes out here with long, violent rap sheets. They are walking outside of the prison, and these brothers are in the jail with non-violent drug offenses.
Yes.
You know, I did a story about a year ago. There was a cop, a white cop that got killed. And the guy that killed him was a white guy. He was arrested over 40 times. And a lot of the offenses that he was arrested for were violent. And he was free. And he was free enough to kill a cop. And of course, after he killed a white cop, oh, we need to put him away for good. Well, duh.
Yeah.
But you got all of these Black guys in there because you found a little weed on them. Are you freaking kidding me?
Exactly. Let me tell you something, because you're 100% right. I actually
and thank you, information man.
Thank you, sister. I've actually seen the numbers because I work in the California system. I've been in the system for about 16 years. I deal with young men that come across our program who have a lot of mental health issues, stress, depression, loss of being away from their family, dealing with gang issues, drug debts that they may have, a variety of different things. The majority of Black men, and I've seen the numbers, the majority of Black men in the prison system in California, and remember, California, we actually incarcerate more people than any other state. The only other state that we're running a close second to is maybe Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. But we incarcerate more people, and I think Texas, they execute more people than anyone, and we incarcerate more. The statistics here in California, more Black men are in prison, in the prison system of California for, like you said, drug sales, drug possessions, with the goal of selling drugs, and some of them get they get astounded when they're on their parole because they get caught with drugs on them. They get caught hanging around the wrong people. They're not in there necessarily because they murdered someone. Now, I just pulled up the crime statistic. Now, like I said, the presence before, these are statistics can be manipulated, but these is white folk statistics about crime. I'm going to give you the overall total of crime versus white people versus Black people. This is why this whole thing that crime is a pathology that leads to only Black people is a lie.
Oh, yeah.
You've got, let me see here. Let me see. Overall crime in this country in total, under the FBI statistics, is at 69.6% white people. Black people in total crime are at 26.9%. Now, this is where people like to get into this whole thing about you'll have Black folks, you'll have Negroes that'll tell you, well, Black people, we kill more than anybody. Now,
yeah.
But if you really look at everything, whenever people live in close quarters to each other, they will kill people that look like themselves.
Absolutely.
So where I live close to Sacramento, California. They have a Asian gang task force. You know why? Because they have Asian gangs here, and guess who they prey on? Other Asian people.
Yeah.
But we don't have a pathology in America that Asians commit crime on each other, but we do on Black people.
Oh, yeah.
For white people,
here on the East Coast, it's a lot of things with Asians too. Boy, I got a lot to tell you about that.
Okay,
Every now and then, just to you know, confirm what you're saying. The closest place where we have Asian gangs from where I am, because I'm in southern New Jersey, is Philadelphia, and the crime in Chinatown is through the roof over in Philadelphia. So I can relate to what you're saying.
Okay. Let me just tell you this. For murder and manslaughter, white people are at 44.7%. Black people are we're only a few numbers above white folks at 52.6% as far as manslaughter. So we're a few numbers from white folks, but overall, white folks commit more crime. And this one is the one that's going to really tickle you here. Guess who commits more crime on their family and on children?
White people. I did a video on that. Yeah, white people.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. But you know what?
Sex offense, 71.6%. Black people, 24%. They're in the high numbers. I don't need to read all of these to you, but they're in high numbers across the board, which henceforth goes into that first statement that I made, which is they're at 69.6%, while black folks are at 26%. So white people overall commit all of the crime in this country. That includes murder, molestation, sex offense, breaking and entering, burglary, car theft, all of that, folks.
Yeah.
Just to set the premise here.
Most of our crime, brother, is economic. And it's economic because we have always been in an oppressive state where unemployment has been exceptionally high all throughout the centuries of being here. So yes, you know, like you said, they live in close proximity, so they're going to commit the crimes on each other. Yeah. But overall, you know, most of the crime that happens in the Black community are economic type crimes, where white people, they kill. You know, they kill for some of the most remedial things you ever want to hear. But we know just from the standing history of being around these folks, we know they do the most killing and the most violence. That's why we see it all through all of the centuries. Since they've stepped foot on this soil, they have just started killing and haven't stopped killing from that point on. So that is the truth.
Let me tell you something that'll really get your hair on your arms are rising. Remember, they had an OK Corral in Waco, Texas. You had the biker gangs, the white biker gangs.
Yes.
At another Waffle House or something. Well, remember they had a shootout.
Yes,
never heard the news say this is white on white crime. And do you know, since that incident took place, most of those good old boys, as they would call them, who were doing the shooting back and forth at each other, do you know that not all of them are not doing any prison time today?
Oh, no.
Free.
I know. Oh, yeah, I know. I remember when that happened. In fact, a lot of people were complaining because after the shootout was done, the police didn't even handcuff a lot of them.
No.
They weren't even handcuffed.
They weren't criminalized.
Right. I remember that incident, brother. I remember.
And that's the problem in this country. There's a term. I just think that we need to come to a realization that Black people in America are seen as a throwaway group. We're seen as a throwaway people, that we can be discarded, we can be criminalized, mistreated, because let's just say that was some young or just Black people in sort of, you have biker clubs in our community. Let's say that they got into a scuffle. It didn't even have to be with guns, just a scuffle. And they would have said that this was a gang situation. Just a scuffle. That's all it takes. Just a scuffle.
Yeah, I hear you. And believe me, going back to the Asians, over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, what the Asian, because they have the over there, the triads are your big Asian gang. And they quite often commit crimes. They kill each other. And see what they do. The Asians do something that none of the other groups do. Whenever they know the white cops are coming, do you know they have all kinds of underground passages and ways to disappear before the cops show up.
Oh, yeah.
And what they say is when they have fights and people are even killed, the Asians will take the dead bodies and go underground with them.
Yeah.
And so by the time the cop shows up, brother, they can't find nothing.
Yeah. My mom once worked for an older Asian man. He had a business and he was straight from Chinatown in San Francisco. And he told my mom that because my mom went to a couple of gambling. They have underground gambling establishments underground in the Chinatown in San Francisco. And just for a little history, a lot of people don't realize this, and True Royal Family might know this, that Chinatown in San Francisco originally was the Black community at one time before the Chinese came in to the area and started to they started moving us over to what we call the Fillmore area, the Western District of San Francisco. But that's just that's some geography there. But he told my mother that they had all type of underground tunnels, all kind of secret ways to get the hell out of there anytime law enforcement would come on the premises. You're absolutely right. They got the same damn thing in New York City too.
And what they do is they said they get everything. When they hear the sirens coming, they get the bodies. They get the weapons on the streets. They get everything. And by the time the cops arrive, nobody's out there anymore. And they just go underground with everything. So they don't get caught.
That's right.
But yeah, and because I know in Philadelphia, Chinatown, they have found beheadings and all kinds of crazy mess over there. But and people don't know, the Asians are running some heavy drugs too. They are running a huge drug ring within those Chinatowns all around the country.
Where I live at, they were running marijuana growing houses from San Francisco. And then what they'll do is they'll go into suburban communities because they figure no one's going to assume that something illegal is going on. And just over the few years that I've lived here, they've had major marijuana busts in nice neighborhoods, nice houses, because the ones that call the shot way in San Francisco and Chinatown have got the younger Chinese gangs that are coming down here setting up shop. That's a big issue too. So they've got their stuff down to a science. But remember, Lisa, and you know this, sister, Black folks, we had a little system too with good old Bumpy Johnson. We had the numbers game, which was this whole thing about lottery and the whole thing that you have to set up with the whole Wall Street, that came from Black folks.
Yeah, I know.
We were doing all that kind of stuff.
Running the damn numbers on the street.
We had an underground economy, and it was an underground economy that had a code of ethics to it, which we've gotten away from today. But so we've had this before, and but when you talk about policing in this society, it's just akin to us being on a plantation again.
Yeah.
Like, for example, they had the stop and fricks law, right? They stop you and they frisk you, right? That's akin to when they used to say, "Where's your papers, boy?"
Yeah.
Let's see your papers, boy. And check this out, Lisa. Do you know that they did a statistical study and they found out the majority of the people in New York that had the guns and the drugs on them were the white boys.
Yeah, and the ones that are here in New Jersey, the main ones driving around with drugs in their car are white people.
Yes,
and they actually did a study on that. And most of a high percentage of white people that would be stopped, by the police in a traffic stop had drugs in the car.
Exactly.
A high percentage of them.
Exactly. They are attempting to destroy us completely. Listen, look, I had and I've got to submit the video again because it had a lot of problems because there was too much truth being talked about on that program. I had a sister that I went to college with. She worked as a dispatcher in the San Francisco police. She told me she had to quit the job. She got death threats on her because she was noticing corruption at the dispatcher's level. They have in San Francisco, they have codes. Whenever cops stop you, they're supposed to give the dispatcher the proper codes because they were doing a study in San Francisco to see if there was such a thing as profiling on a statistical level.
Uh-huh.
Said that she would catch the officers purposely not giving her the codes that she needed. They were doing all sorts of illegal activity, right, as it related to race. And I found out talking to her that in San Francisco, they have transmitters in their cop cars so they can identify wherever those cars are at. And she was telling me that there were, at any given time, the police were jimming or turning off the system. And when they could pick anybody up off the streets, beat the shit out of you, turn it off, okay? And when you go to court and say, this cop beat me up, he could say, hey, I never was in that neighborhood. This man is lying. I witnessed firsthand when I was in college, and I'm very proud of this. People can say what they will. I'm very proud of the community service that I was able to do through my organization, the young men and young ladies that I was able to send to college, the young men that I've mentored in our programs as it relates to teenage pregnancy. I'm very proud of this. I'm very proud of the young men that I might have helped to not become a gang member in the Sunnydale Housing Project area of San Francisco at the time when I was in college, working with kids in that neighborhood. And they had brothers that were gang members, and they never messed with us because they saw that we were just coming in the community, working with some of their brothers, their sisters, and what have you. But I used to see in this neighborhood, the police would swoop down. They would harass young black men who they knew had just gotten out of prison, and they would plant drugs on them. There was a park, a famous park in the area where I was working at there, where they would take them in the backwoods, beat them up, put drugs on them, or turn them into a CI, meaning a spy. Information. This is the stuff that was going on in San Francisco, California, so-called liberal city by the Bay.
Yeah. You know what, brother? I was born and raised in the city of Philadelphia, and back in the 90s, it was a ring of cops that were planting drugs and weapons on people. They finally got caught, and they had to release 1,100 people from jail. 1,100 people got released from jail because these ring of cops had planted that amount of drugs on folks and guns and weapons and all kinds of stuff and lying on police reports. So for us, that is pretty much the norm. They have always told lies on us. And, you know, I did a video about a week ago. Thank you so much, Ramink Jeltsin. I did a story about a week ago how globally they are putting the black people in jail. I saw a story on Australia. It was saying the Aborigines are 3% of Australia's population because they done killed so many of them people. There's not many of them left. Do you know they make up the majority of the people in jail?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Crazy. And then I was looking at, you know, the UK, you know, Europe, and it is just ridiculous. They have literally made this whole earth anti-black and have managed to demonize the black people that are on this earth. It's like a global, it's like a global corporation for them to always go after whoever the darkest people are on that landmass and criminalize them. And it's a global thing. Mm-hmm. But you know what, brother? It all goes back centuries ago when they put out these slave codes.
Yes.
And it's the reason why you see a lot of hesitation in our people today. You know, it pretty much spells out like when because I have it up on the screen, you have the 1669 casual killing of slaves. You know what that is, right?
Wow.
Now, just listen to the wording of this. An act about the casual killing of slaves says, if a slave dies while resisting, what do the cops always say to us?
They always tell us, don't resist.
Right.
Put your hands up.
You're going to see that same language in the slave codes that were written hundreds of years ago. So if a slave dies while resisting his master, the act will not be presumed to have occurred in prepense malice. So they didn't kill you out of hate. So in other words, they're saying they didn't kill their slave out of hate. So therefore, they should not get punished. That was written 1669. Now, here's 1672. It becomes legal to wound or kill an enslaved person who resists arrest. Now, what did they say to us again, brother?
They always say, don't resist arrest. They always say, put your hands up. And what's another code that police always use? This is very important, family. They'll use little codes like, I saw his hand on his waistline.
Touch his waistband. Yeah.
That's a code word for you're going for a gun. Now, let me tell you something else too. And I'm going to grab an article that I got from work. I was talking to a guy at work. There's another reason why police get off when they kill us, because they go into this science about, and I'm going to read off these key things that people need to remember. But let me just throw this on everybody's mind, because I've got a brother that I've known for a long time, and he's going to come on here and talk about this. It kind of gets into more science, but he talks about everything in this society we call America that we sign with our signature. When you sign anything, your ID, your birth certificate, or your parents do, you sign a marriage certificate. Everything that you sign, you're signing a contract with the corporation of the United States of America. So the reason why a police officer, when they stop you, what is the first thing they ask you for?
Your ID.
They ask you for your ID. You know why? Because when you show them your ID, you're actually contracting with them to do business with them. Okay. So once you show them, once they get the ID, which you have already put your signature on, and you come into contract with the state that you're in or the country that you live in, you're actually giving that officer permission to engage with you and do whatever, because you just showed him the information that he needed that says that you agree with what's getting ready to take place. I've got a brother that I work with who has a video on YouTube, and I got to get him to give me that video, where he used the wording in the document that he gave them when the police were trying to harass him, and he got out of the situation. Like when they stop you and they say you're driving, he used words like, I'm not driving, I'm traveling. This is, if you ever heard the Treaty of the Moors, there was a treaty that they signed with the United States to be a sovereign nation, to be a sovereign. It's about sovereignties. You've heard this throughout YouTube, people talking about sovereignty. Well, he's using this type of language, which is backed up in the courts. And he just got lucky this night and they didn't smash him up, but they ended up letting him go. I've got to get that video for the family to see that. But that's one of the reasons why they smash and they do what they do on us. They need to have that ID to be able to identify you, but say, hey, you've given me now permission to go further with the search and the seize upon your ass.
Now, brother, listen to this. This is going to bring home what you just said and what you said earlier. Okay, let me read this slave code because it matches what you have said. It is 1672 slave code. It becomes legal to wound or kill an enslaved person who resists arrest. Legislators also deem that the owner of any slave killed as he resisted arrest will receive financial compensation for the loss of an enslaved laborer. Legislators also offer an award to Indians who captured enslaved persons and returned them to the justice of the peace. See, this is why I try to tell many of our people that jump on that native, oh, I got native in my family. The natives were not our friends.
No.
Many of these Indians in the land, there were maybe a few exceptions, but the vast majority of these Indian tribes in America were not our friends. They also profited from you being captured and returned.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. When you said, you know, the slave master got paid, that's exactly what this law said.
Exactly. Exactly. There's profit on our, this is what's amazing and horrifying. There's profit on our death, Lisa, and there's profit in our incarceration, our torture. There's profit, profit, profit. That is what's happening here. Now, let me, if you give me the time to let you know, to educate folks as best I can based on what I've been experienced and what I've seen, why a lot of times cops will get off in these court cases. Not only do they get off because Black life, as I said, is seen as throwaway. It has no value, so they don't care about us. You kill a white life, well, you're gonna pay a price for that. But Black life has no value in this country. Now, what they do is they use psychology. It's the flight or fight, how the natural body functions affect how your functions in your mind, your body, when you're under a stressful situation, how it affects you, right? So when these guys go to court, they'll use something called vascular restriction, which is loss of fine motor skills. Audio exclusion. Audio exclusion means the ears can play tricks on you. Tunnel vision. We've all heard of tunnel vision. The line of sight is narrowing. And I'll let you know where this is going. Expanded compression time, the loss of time and perception. So what they'll do when a cop shoots us or does anything to us, they have people who come into court who use the psychology terms that I just read here, and they'll say that, well, the police officer, you know, is under a lot of stress, so he probably couldn't hear when people said, "Don't shoot," right? That's the audio exclusion, right? The ear can play tricks on you. Oh, my ears were playing tricks on me, Lisa. I just couldn't hear when the other people were telling me not to shoot, that the person doesn't have a gun in their hand, right? Mm-hmm. Now, the vascular restriction is the loss of fine motor skills. I was so nervous. I didn't realize that I shot him 20 times, like they did that kid here in Sacramento. I didn't realize because I got so nervous and I got to shaking and I thought he had a gun because I saw him reach for his hip area. So they'll go into court and they'll push this vascular restriction, loss of fine motor skills. Okay. Now the other one is tunnel vision. When they say, well, I thought he had a gun in his hand. I couldn't see a cell phone. I saw a guy who was a threat to me because, you know, as a cop, I go through a lot of changes. And what was happening is that my vision got tunneled because I was focusing on a guy that was a threat to me. So that's the line of sight of narrowing under the tunnel vision. All right. Now, the last one I'll repeat again, the expanded compression time. I had a loss of time. These cops say these things. I didn't know. I don't even remember where I was at exactly. I just know it was dark out there and I saw him moving. He was a threat to me. So that's the loss of compression time, the loss of time in perception. You have a loss of time and you're tunnel visioned in. You have a loss of time. Your perception changes. And so these are the sort of, I'm not going to read too much into this. It'll probably bore people if I read the details of this for the sake of your show. But these are the type of buzzwords that cops get off on in the court of law when you have psychologists come in and they put out all this information to confuse the jury, to confuse everybody, to get these cops off. They already have the benefit of the doubt because they're a police officer. So they can play all these little roles that I just said here because they're a police officer with the whole, it's stressful out there. You know, I just want to get back home in one piece. These cops say these sort of things. So this is one piece of how they get off when they kill us. Because there's no value in our life, and then they can back it up with their science here, Lisa. I'm telling you.
Oh, I know. I mean, it's all a racket. You know, we know this. And it's, you know, you can tell because they're all in cahoots with each other. And their goal is to make sure that cop walks out of that courtroom and go home. And you also can tell the most violent cop can get fired from one precinct and go across town and get another job. How many times have we seen that?
let's say Darren, is it Darren Wilson?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is what people don't realize. Most of these police, let me just say this. Some of the police officers who got caught killing us, they were in other police departments that got shut down. Darren Wilson is a perfect example of a guy who worked in a corrupt police department that got shut down, Lisa. And then what happens when they get fired, get shut down? They go right over to the next county, right over to the next state, and they can get hired. I think that once these cops have a dirty record on them, there should be a database where they can't be touched. Nobody can hire them, but it's not set up that way because they're not looking to give us justice.
No, they're looking to make money. They don't care. They don't care about us getting justice.
But let me just tell you this. You had a fantastic show, Lisa, in which you talked about where are they getting their funding. Do you know that all these police stations have an insurance policy?
Yes, they do.
And one of the things I loved about Johnny Crockett, I'm not saying his name right, but God rest his soul, he would always sue the hell out of the LAPD.
Oh, Johnny Cochran. Yeah.
Johnny Cochran.
Yes.
Johnny Cochran. He would sue the hell out of them and would cause them to have to do training, spend money. It would drain them. If we were to sue the goddamn their insurance policies, you could drive some of these police departments almost out of business, which did happen in the state of Missouri, where this Darren Wilson character worked at one of these police departments that were just a few miles away.
Yeah, and he was, I believe, he was fired.
Yeah. Now, Lisa, this is another thing. I did a video talking about how you have the white supremacists or these Nazis and skinheads infiltrating themselves into the institutions of this society. So I believe personally, this is my personal theory. I believe another reason why we're finding ourselves being killed, because a lot of these skinheads, back in the day, you can remember a time when most of the skinheads would wear their combat boots and leather jackets, and they would wear the big boots, and they would like to kick in on your ass. They would attack you on the streets. But what's happening is that a lot of them were going to jail and doing time, which was hurting their numbers. So what they figured out is that, you know what? We can't afford to do all of that. We got to have you going to school, get an education. We got to have you in the military, get that training. We got to have you in the police departments. So now you can kick black people's ass legally with the badge on. And I believe that they've infiltrated our political system. Donald Trump is a testament to that. Okay. You've got all this alt-right bullshit going around because they have redefined their movement by trying to go mainstream. But the question is, we as black people, and I've been saying this, I think that we need to start infiltrating systems of this society. For example, if I got to be the biggest coon to get on a jury so that I can notify that damn jury for a black man, I'm going to do it. So if I got to get up there on that jury pool and say, oh, God damn it, I love America. God damn it. America's the greatest country on earth, right? So that I can get on that jury and cause some disruption.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is a good idea, because I even thought about, maybe we should pinpoint towns.
Yes.
We can just move in and just completely take over the whole local government.
Yes.
Because you can do a lot more at the local level.
Yeah, all government is local, right?
Right.
So I just think as black people, we do everything. We got people who do the heavy work, people who do the institutional work. We need black folks in everything, politics. We need to be in every form of this country, infiltrating it. That's what these white groups are doing. And the reason why I can say that with confidence, because a lot of the white men at my job that I run across dealing with, who are the skinheads and the Nazi types, when I look at their criminal record, I'm saying, my God, they're a part of an organization. They're a part of a gang. They were moving this. They were moving that drug. They were infiltrating this place. They were taking over this community. They're doing this stuff, which is why those idiots had the audacity to go to Oakland. By the way, they got their ass kicked in Oakland.
Yeah, but, we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
We're going to talk about that, actually. And just a sidebar, and I know this is a whole different topic, but I wanted to mention this because of the nature of one of my videos, and somebody had asked this question about Christianity. Our people were actually forced into Christianity in 1667, and they actually came up with a law that said the slave master must encourage Christianity on the enslaved men, women, and children. And if our people did not accept Christianity, they were either beaten or killed. So that's probably why I reject it now, because just keeping that in mind. Well, now, I did this video. I'm not going to play it, but it was a former cop.
Okay.
That said, stop resisting. When cops yell that out, it's bogus. He said what they want to do is get that on camera. And he said a lot of times when you physically look at the situation, the person is not resisting at all. But if they keep screaming, stop resisting, that plays out well in the court, because that's all the jury, it's a psychological game, because that's what the jury hear. And then they automatically believe, well, why would the cop say stop resisting and the guy wasn't resisting? So he actually mentions this former cop mentions this in this video. He said the whole thing is bogus. They're only saying that to you over and over. So when your case go to court, everybody and the judge and everybody's going to believe you were resisting when you really technically weren't.
Exactly. But
so it's a scam. The whole thing, the stop resisting thing, is definitely, like you said, it's a scam.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah, I have the Oath Keepers out of their protest at Maxine Waters' office. Now there's a lot of people, now I don't know how you feel about this, there's a lot of people that feel that the retaliation was Nia Wilson's killing from a white supremacist, the BART stabbing, and that was retaliation for being ran out by the Black people a few days before. Now, I don't know, anything is possible, but that's the speculating that I'm hearing.
Okay. Well, see, let me tell you something. Oakland, I lived in Oakland. I spent some time in there. And say what you will about Oakland, always gets a bad rap because it's next to San Francisco. People believe that Oakland has more crime than San Francisco. That's a lie. I lived in San Francisco for 26 years. You've heard me say this. Lived in Oakland for 10. San Francisco has just as much crime, if not more crime, than Oakland. The difference is that San Francisco is a big-time tourist city. So they have to suppress their criminal statistics in San Francisco, not to scare off their tourism. Oakland is not a city that's based on tourism. It's a city where it's a blue-collar city where people work and live. It doesn't have any shiny bridges and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you got the Bay Bridge, which they built wrong, according to True Royal Family. But it gets a bad rap. But however, Black folks in Oakland are more on code than people give us credit. I believe that those young people in Oakland, they were aware that those suckers that were out there today had something to do in conjunction with that stabbing, trying to protest for the guy who got caught by the cops eventually. I think that they're not, I think, I don't want to underestimate the young people, because young people, they are more into the social media and finding out what's going on through these computers and these hand devices than we ever would imagine. So I tend to think that they might be aware of what the hell's going on, but I don't know. It's just I can tell you this: MacArthur BART station is a very dangerous BART station. I'm going to be fair about this too, because there have been other incidents at that BART station where people have been robbed. I think there was a kidnapping there some time ago, way back. I've gotten off there a few times over the years when I was working in Berkeley, California, and I can tell you it ain't no Disneyland area. Okay, and True Royal can attest to that. It ain't no Disneyland. You got to walk around there with some conviction about yourself. I'll leave you with that.
Yeah. Well, nevertheless, you know, they did catch the guy, but I still don't understand how somebody with a violent rap sheet like that could be free.
Oh no, I could tell you how.
You know,
One, he has the color for protection, Lisa.
Yeah, the complexion with the protection. Yeah, we're all familiar with that. Okay, now, did you hear about this homeless man, this degenerate, that tried to push a 17-year-old Black female into traffic?
Oh yeah, I've heard about this one. This is crazy.
And he was screaming the N-word, and if people didn't intervene, who knows, she might be gone.
Yes. Again,
this was this homeless man, another one that had a long criminal record on the streets. And, you know, and I'm starting to, and I don't know how you feel, but I'm starting to get the feeling that they want these violent type of white males on the street so they can come after us. I really do. There's a reason why they got these hardened criminals and they are free and roaming among us.
I know for a fact that they let out a lot of people who should be in mental facilities or should be incarcerated still. Just here in California, they released a number of incarcerated men who were in prison for what they would call non-violent crimes under Prop 57 in California. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people have been released, but my concern that a lot of these people that get released are people who do have a propensity to take it to the next level of violence. Because when you're incarcerated and you're around violence, that stuff starts to rub off on you when you come back out to society. And then look at the society that we have right now. It's hard for people to get a job, find employment and shelter. And with a felon on yourself, your odds are really against you. So you're going to get into doing what? Selling drugs again, which may come with it what? Having to up it to violence on people.
Yeah.
Or you may come out with mental health issues and you may attack someone. Who knows? But I've noticed one thing, Lisa. It's constantly happening to Black people. It's like it's a planned situation.
It is. It is a plan. This is not a coincidence that these phone calls and the physical attacks and everything are all happening at the same time. I really believe, you know, number one, all of these phone callers are nothing but your classic white supremacists. And they are trying to hit us at every single level, from the most pettiest thing to straight up murder, like we saw with Nia Wilson. I don't believe it's a coincidence that this was all happening at the same time.
No,
this is all planned and orchestrated.
I think if we set back and really look at everything that's been happening with an investigative eye, like we're investigated. Just it's like a puzzle that you put together, put the pieces together, step at a time. Look at where it's happening, the time of the year it's happening, the time of the day, the areas of what is happening. And then look at how the Black community is being infiltrated with the gentrification.
Yeah. And you know those gentrifiers are coming in with the opioids. You know that?
Exactly. So if you've got guys like this, if you got white folks that are heavily on these opioids, and I've been listening to your program about the numbers are going up high and many of them are dying. If white folks are on these opioids and they're moving into the Black community one way or another, they're going to bring whatever their sicknesses are, whatever they're into, whatever their ideologies are, they're bringing it into the communities that Black people have lived in for years. And if they're crazy like this guy, if they got racism, they got whatever, they're bringing that with them too.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, brother, there's a new one. There was a white man that worked at Dollar General, called the cops on a Black woman because she brought in too many coupons.
Oh, you got to be kidding.
No, it's a new story. I don't know if anybody heard this one. It's a new story. He called the cops on this Black woman for bringing in too many coupons.
I can't believe that. That's crazy. Wait a minute. Is there a limit on coupons that you can use at the store?
You can bring as many as you want.
Because I've never heard any law.
Well, I never heard of that either. It sounds like some lazy ass. Yeah, but there's a new one where she brought in too many coupons, so he called the cops on her.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, those coupons are not hard to ring up. You just, you can pretty much zap them all.
But let's see. You can't drive while black. You can't sell lemonade while black. You can't you can't use your coupons while you're black. Let me see.
You can't go to a pool.
A pool while black. You definitely can't drive while black.
Airbnb.
You can't Airbnb while black. What else?
Yale.
Can't yell while black.
Remember?
Pretty soon they're gonna tell us that we can't use the goddamn bathroom.
Oh yeah, that's coming. Black man was in the bathroom for too long. How long was it? He was in there 5 minutes. Too long.
We'll have to wear before you know it, we'll have to all wear Depends. They won't let us use the bathroom.
Yeah, right.
Unbelievable.
Isn't that something? I mean, it has gotten to be just ridiculous. It really is. Let me get rid of that.
But these are, Lisa, I know you're a very spiritual person. I believe that everything that's happening is prophecy. I believe it's all this system that we in is surely coming to its end of its cycle. We're living through it and we're seeing it. Okay, because nothing. If you look at history, every what they call great civilization has rose up, has had its time in the sun, has come down, and something else has taken its place. What would make America and any other society right now any different? It's going to have its time, and eventually it has to come down.
Yeah.
This can't keep going. This can't keep.
It's too corrupt. It's too corrupt, and and there's just too much. And you know what? And also, when you look at the system is also very disorganized. It gives you the illusion that they know how to run things, but when you take a closer look, they really don't. And this is what I was trying to tell many of my people about a year ago when I did a video on the Wall Street Journal. And I was saying every now and then pick one up and you will see they literally do not know how to run businesses either. They give you the illusion that they know how to run a business. But when you start looking at how much these companies lose in a quarter, they seriously don't know how to run a corporation either. You can open up the Wall Street Journal and you'll find companies that lost $200 million in a quarter. Last year, Uber lost $800 million in 6 months. I mean, come on. Does that sound like people that know what they're doing? No, but we have not really looked at how they really run things. We just assume because the system, everything is moving along, we're just believing that it's all good. But see, they got this system so rigged up. Even if they lose $1 billion in a quarter, which a lot of these corporations do, they got it so rigged up that corporation can lose that kind of money and still go to a bank and borrow all kinds of money and get grants and everything.
Yes, definitely.
So it always looked like they know what they're doing. But when you pick up a Wall Street Journal and start looking at it, you'll realize real fast they don't even know how to run businesses either.
Well, what you have, Lisa, is like a shell game. You know how a shell game works, right? Now you see it, now you don't. You move the little nutshells around. And that's the reason why when we had that big housing bust, because those Wall Street criminals, they're bundling the home loans across seas. They're gambling. That's all it is gambling. They're just bookies. That's all they are. They're just bookies.
And Wall Street loses $1 trillion every year.
Yeah.
Again, does that sound like people that know what they're doing?
No.
You know, and I said, you know, when you really take a step back and look at how the system is run, it is run badly. It really
it's brokered on the backs of everyday people. So when Wall Street screws up, when Obama came into office, guess what? Who paid for this? We did.
Yes.
Taxpayers paid for this bailout. Okay? Taxpayers paid for this bailout.
Yeah.
Look. There was a man, I was listening, I love to listen to my man Joe Madison. I was listening to his program, and there was a guy who, oh yeah, he's great. There was a guy that came on there to introduce this, and he was a Republican too. He said that one of the things that they should have did to get us out of that situation with the housing market is they should have implemented a system called a mortgage holiday moratorium, which means during the time when we were going through that situation, everybody should have had their mortgages suspended, meaning you wouldn't have to pay a mortgage on your house, or you wouldn't have to pay any rent on your place for a whole year, to allow people to get their money situation together. And then he said, well, what happened is that the government would subsidize the homeowners and the various businesses. So for example, if I'm not going to pay my mortgage for a year, because the government is allowing me to do that, then the government would take care and make those businesses, those companies, or those they would make them all right.
Yes.
And even if I owned apartments and I had people living in the apartments, the government was going to give me a break on my taxes, meaning I wasn't going to have to pay any taxes for the year, which would help people to get back on their feet, get their money back in order. It was called a mortgage holiday. And guess what? None of those scumbags up in Washington, when it was introduced to them, I think it was Michael Steele, the Negro, I like to call him. He saw the bill and he said that it's a damn good bill. It's a damn good proposal. That's what it was, a proposal. But it will never work, because it would make Obama, if he implemented it, it would have made Obama look too damn good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You know, the thing is, I don't think they are interested in this system running well. You know, they don't care if the system collapses as long as they get to screw us over. That's the way I see it. Yeah. Now, what do you think, brother, next topic, about this Marquise McLaughlin, him defending his girlfriend and losing his life, and the sheriff coming out sounding like a defense attorney instead of a sheriff, got up at the mic talking about stand your ground, and as early as yesterday, he already said he's not going to charge this guy, the shooter.
This is in Florida, right?
This is Florida.
But
remember, this is the same place that pulled that stand your ground shit with Trayvon.
Well, that's just precisely what I was going to say. Trayvon Martin was a minor. I still have, I'm going to tell you, Lisa, I have not gotten over that situation, because everything about it was wrong. First of all, he was a minor. Mm-hmm. So what is a grown man doing following a minor? Second of all, if he was
to stand down by 911.
Exactly. And so if they have a stand their ground law in Florida, why is it that Trayvon Martin, why didn't the damn defense, the prosecution say, make it about standing his own ground? He was a minor being accosted and chased after by a grown man who was not a law enforcement official, by the way. Now, in that case, when you look at that situation some years ago, what would make us think that this young man protecting his girlfriend was going to get any justice for himself? Stand your ground, and the whole issue around NRA and weapons and the right to bear arms, it has nothing to do with black people. It has everything to do with white people and their fear of being taken over by black people. If you look at the history of why people got the right to bear arms, they always tell you, oh, it was because they were concerned about invaders coming in. One of the reasons why they pushed the right to bear arms in this country, sister, is because when a lot of black people were coming out of slavery into Reconstruction, white landowners were concerned that black men were going to savage after them and their women and take over their land and kill them and savage them. So one of the reasons why the gun became a big part of their life is because they were concerned for their protection against these newly freed savage ex-slaves called black people.
You know what, brother? That just tells me in their spirit, they know everything they've done to us is wrong.
Exactly.
Fear, retribution, which they know deep down they deserve.
Yeah. So when I hear people say that NRA gets into this whole thing about gun right to bear arms, they never tell you the history about how white men in a furry were concerned about protecting themselves against black men, which is one reason why the industrial prison complex system ratcheted up in this country, because they were concerned about newly freed black men. The prison system was designed for black men once we were given so-called freedom in this country.
Right.
They were concerned about
that. Not only that, brother, you remember when all of the slaves left the plantation, the South collapsed.
Exactly.
And they had a famine down there. They had a famine in the South after the slaves left. That right there proves that their entire economy was riding on those slaves being out on the plantation.
Which is why, Lisa,
so they came up with prison because they had to figure out a way to get you back into servitude so that they could get their economy up and running again. And that's when they came up with prison.
Exactly. But you also have to look at doing Reconstruction. Now, this is another sad part of our history. There were many black people who were slaves and they went from slavery into Reconstruction, as we know by history, but some of them went back to the very land that they were slaves on as sharecroppers.
Yeah, because I had my grandfather was a sharecropper. My great-grandfather was a sharecropper. So I'm all very, very familiar with that.
Which once again, once again made them slaves to the land. Because once they got the seed on credit, the land, they were borrowing the land. If those crops didn't come through right, then the person that was whipping their back at one time would say, well, boy, you're going to have to owe me for that. Your crop didn't come through right. Okay. Now you owe me for the seed from last year and the year after that. So you just continue to be in a cycle of slavery all over again.
Right. And see, that's why I was, even when I was teaching my son, I told him, I said, see, the moment the slaves left the plantation, that's when they started calling black people criminal. Okay. Instantaneous. You went from being a slave to being a criminal. They had to do that because they had to figure out ways to get us back into free labor. And I said, oh, the whole thing is about money. Number two, you became lazy when you no longer would work for free. You see, it's a pattern to everything. You know, it's a pattern to everything, to why we are called the things that we are today. Oh, you lazy niggers. We ain't no lazy niggers. Okay. We built a nation on lazy slaves? I don't think so. I don't think so. And you really think about it, they have no room to call anybody lazy. It is documented that they did not work during chattel slavery. Whites did not work.
Well, you know, Lisa, that
a lot of calling lazy.
Yeah, you do, but you know this, Lisa, that a majority of the white people in this country were poor, and you had small numbers of landowners, slavers, and the poor whites would be working for the white landowners as what? Overseers. So so when you think about black women and black men being raped by these type of people, we were being destroyed and picked on by some of the lowest common denominator of white folks who were themselves were not landowners, but they were what you would call the ratchet type. The whole system was ratchet, of course, but you would have trailer trash type white folks that were the ones on the plantation watching over us, doing horrible things to us. Mm-hmm. They were very uneducated buffoonish people. And keep this in mind. You know, a lot of these Europeans that came over here were the criminals.
Oh yeah, they got
out of Europe. Yeah.
And Europe threw them out. Europe did not want them anyway.
Yeah, just like those.
They were prostitutes.
Exactly.
They were murderers. Those are the ones that came here. They were not the cream of the crop.
Yeah, even when you look at,
really got the low-end Europeans.
Exactly. Even the ones in Africa who call themselves Afrikaan, those Dutch over there.
Oh yeah,
they are the worst.
Yeah,
they are the worst. Ask yourself this, Lisa. With all this stuff that's happening in South Africa right now, with black folks saying we want their asses out of here, why is it that all these Dutch countries haven't said you can come back home? We'll welcome you back here. Not one of those countries have asked for them to come back.
I did a video on that.
Talk about it, sister.
Because they're the offspring of criminals.
And they don't want them.
They're troublemakers. In fact, brother, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I believe it was Sweden. After apartheid took some of them in, they caused so many problems in Sweden. Sweden actually put them on ships and sent them back to South Africa.
Yeah.
They caused so many problems. And I believe it was back in the 90s, they were just giving everybody a headache in Sweden to the point where they shipped their asses right back to South Africa.
Because you hear about Israel, you hear all these rumors about Israel is going to send some type of retired military to go over and help them. But the question everyone has to ask themselves, why haven't their own countrymen and women told them you're welcome to come back to Harlem or Holland or wherever the hell they come from? Because they don't want them. They know that they're trash.
Yeah.
They know that they're trash. Got these damn Germans in Africa too who are doing despicable things, and I don't see Germany asking them for them to come back to Germany today. Their own people don't want them.
No, they don't. They don't.
And we supposed to be the animals, Lisa. Black folks.
I'm telling you. I know exactly what you mean. So with this stand your ground, so this guy protects his girlfriend and child, and they're saying the person at work, this guy literally walked up and started the altercation with the girlfriend. I'm sorry, if you started, there is no way you were standing your ground, you know, but you could clearly tell the sheriff and the killer were definitely in cahoots with each other. But when you look at this case, there's no way it's stand your ground. Now, I'm glad to see a lot of these people in Florida coming out, but they need to get rid of that sheriff that is refusing to charge this guy. You know, this guy was a known white supremacist. He had had other altercations at that same store location with other black people. I think it's very clear this was not a stand your ground case. This guy needs to be charged and put in jail.
See, this is the reason why, Sister Lisa Queen, why I know some of our people feel like, hey, voting doesn't mean anything. Why should I vote? But I think more than anything, and you said it, voting locally is probably even more important than nationally, because all government is local first. Now, you saw what those black folks did in Ferguson. White people were running a ruck shop there. They were running a corrupt system there, giving black people more tickets than anybody. Just so many crazy things. The minute black folks got politically active in that community, and look what happened. They got rid of the district attorney. They got rid of the whole corrupt bag of them.
Yeah.
That's how you deal with these sheriffs, because these sheriffs have to be voted in, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. They sure do.
So this is where black people in Florida can mobilize themselves, organize themselves on a local level, and get rid of this piece of you-know-what. What they got to do, because all government is local. You control your local, you control your turf. You can manipulate other things nationally when you control your turf.
Yes, I agree. You know,
so that's one strategy amongst many other strategies, of course. And we need, I think, what are your thoughts? Do you feel, what are your thoughts about the importance of black men and women running for office for some of these positions, if they are legitimate and have a heart that's a heart that's in the right place for Black people, of course, because you can have a Black person, don't mean you're going to get any anything out of them, you know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for, especially predominantly Black local government. I think that is something good. But yeah, you definitely don't want to get some corrupt people on there that's going to turn around and just make things just as bad as the oppressor is making for us. So, you know, you have to vet these people quite naturally. But I think if you're going to run for office, locally is the way to go. National, we know you're not going to get very much done for the Black community on a national level. We see that through Congress and the Senate. Look at all these Black people you got in Congress, and they're not doing nothing for us. But local government is way better. If you're going to vote, that's where you vote. You can forego the national stuff, but vote locally. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Black people, that's been our one Achilles heel, because some of us don't believe in politics. I certainly have my issues with politics, and some of us do believe in it, and some of us feel like, hey, we just got to separate ourselves. But this is the bottom line. We all are living on this planet. Because as much as I might want to say to you, Sister Lisa, and to everybody listening, hey, you know, I'm ready to go somewhere. The fact of the matter is, I'm not ready to go anywhere at all. I'm not prepared to be able to leave and go anywhere. I don't have anything established in any other country right now. Okay. So right now I'm here in America. And long as I'm here right now, this is where I'm established. I've got to deal with where I am right now. Right.
Right.
Until I'm in a position where I'm prepared to go elsewhere. But the fight is here still, because our people, our ancestors, they gave a lot of blood and sweat for this place. Right. They built this country. So it's just as much mine as it would be anyone else's. Hell, I could say I could say with pure arrogance, and love this arrogance, that this country belongs to Black people more than anybody in this damn country, because nobody put the sweat in this country that we did.
We actually built it, you know, and I did a video just a few days ago showing that slavery was well beyond the South. You know, when I was in elementary school, I remember, you know, being taught by, you know, the enemy that slavery was in the South. But as I grew older and I started looking, even in the state of New Jersey where I am, slavery was all over New Jersey. Slavery was all over New York, Pennsylvania.
You do know, you can do the research, because I've been getting this information. You do know that New Jersey is the last place in this country to end a slave system.
Yes.
And remember, Malcolm X said that he considered anything below Canada
the South.
The South.
And he's right, because what these European immigrants did when they came in, whenever they got farmland, they got slaves. And they were getting farmland all over the country. So therefore, slavery was going on all over the country, the Midwest, the West, the South, the North. So it is a big, big lie that it was only in the South. And not to mention, brother, do you know a lot of the land that we're living on now? Dead bodies of our ancestors, or they put these buildings and businesses on top of?
Yeah, I think in New York, they were about to build some skyscraper, and they found
they
Black people,
the slaves, that were there. And almost in New York, 49% of the white people in New York had a slave in their household. But see, remember, they'll come and tell you, nobody in my family had a slave. Only 1% had a slave. That's a lie. That's a lie. Damn near 50% of these white folks in the country had slaves. Okay, there were a bunch of them here in New Jersey that had slaves. They had an auction site down in Camden, New Jersey, okay, where they brought them from ships and sold them right on an auction block down there by the waterfront in Camden. And that place now has a marker on it. So they are being very disingenuous. And how is it that I'm always amazed that every time I have a conversation with white people and racism come up, nobody's ever a racist. Nobody's ever a racist. Then how are you managing to run this racist system?
Someone,
y'all, nobody's a racist.
now, I want to say, a gentleman, someone in the chat room says that Mississippi was the last state after Texas. And I've heard that, but I've also heard stories that there was a lot of racism and slavery going on in the North that they didn't talk about. And they pointed at New Jersey as things, basically in a nutshell, as they began to end slavery in the South, there was still something going on in a place called New Jersey that people don't realize. And do you know this, Lisa? Let me blow you away. Well, I ain't gonna blow you away. You've heard a lot of stuff before. But do you know that there was still some form of slavery happening in the South as late as 1969? Oh. There were black people in the South who never got the memo that slavery was over, that they were still living in a servitude position in the damn South.
The 80s, brother.
The 80s, okay, correct.
All the way to the 80s.
Okay, to the 80s.
Yeah.
What the hell is that about? That's crazy.
I know. You know, they want our servitude, brother, because we can go out there and withstand that hot sun. See, there's a reason why the crops, even to this day, are rotting when the immigrants are running from ICE and these white people and their crops are all rotting out there and they're not being harvested. They can't, I don't care what sunscreen they got on. They cannot go out there and work from sun up to sundown. Their asses will burn up and die. There is no amount of sunscreen they can buy and put on that will save them from the sun.
Yeah.
And that's really the bottom. That's really why they're now mad at Trump, because many of these farmers are losing these $2 and $3 million crops.
Yeah.
And they're mad at him because of the immigration situation.
See, this is the thing, though, Lisa. I can't feel sorry for any white people in America. Farmers are alike, and I know the black farmers are getting hit hard. But you guess what? The black farmers were always getting hit hard, and they just got their money that was promised to them a few years ago, and they still. I mean, the black farmers have been treated poorly, but I can't feel sorry for these white farmers.
Oh, I don't feel sorry for none of them.
Because for most of them, they voted for Donald Trump.
Yes,
they vote. You got what you deserve. You get what you deserve when you vote for this type of government. They wanted to make America great. Well, God damn it. This is what you got. Welcome to America. The America that you wanted.
Suicide and everything. I mean, right now, the suicides among the farmers are going through the roof. It is really bad. But you know what? I was talking to one of my family members. They said it's so bad in farming. When you drive through Georgia, the for sale signs on the farms are all over the place. It's everywhere. Or they're trying to get you to lease part of their property to grow crops because these white folks can't do it. You know, I said, I said, you see the irony in that? They make up the biggest percentage of farmers in this country, but they can't even maintain their own land.
No.
You know,
let me ask you a question, Lisa.
Yeah.
Where throughout history and in this world and outside of this country and throughout this whole world, have you ever seen a scene like you see in the old the movies where you got all black folks or you got Mexicans, picking the tomatoes or whatever? Have you ever seen a scene where you got a whole bunch of white folks in the field picking the food?
No.
While white folks are on horses driving. Have you, in this history of this country, have you seen it anywhere?
No.
Where have you seen white folks picking anything in large scale in the field where it's all white folks as far as the eye can see? Have you ever seen that?
Never.
So that show, what does that tell you, sister?
It tells you, number one, they are the ones with the inferior skin. And number two, they can't do their own work. They can't. They will die if they go out there. They'll be dead within probably 2 months. You know, and you got to think about it. Chattel slavery was during a time when sunscreen didn't even exist.
Okay.
Now they got sunscreen on the shelf, and their asses are still burning up.
So now, sister, I totally agree with you. So now, sister, so that shows, when you really analyze it and break it down, it shows you exactly who's really lazy. And it also goes into the reason why we had an industrialization in this country, because the white man realized that he could no longer use black people to pick his food. So they had to do what? Create machines to do labor, which the white man was not willing and too lazy to do himself, which also fueled the industrialization in this country, because they were able to create machines, which, by the way, the black man created the cotton gin. The black man created these damn machines that they're using in farming today. Right?
The tractor was also created by a black man.
Yes. So it shows you how lazy they are, because they industrialized it so that they wouldn't have to do that work that we did. And on top of that, we created the damn machines again for this lazy stuff.
The reason why most of those inventions came out during slavery is because our people were trying to find ways to make all that backbreaking work easier.
Exactly.
That's why I laugh when they say all the inventions came from them. It wouldn't make any sense that it came from them. They weren't doing the work. No. It would make sense that the inventions came from the people that were doing the actual work.
Now, there's been a rumor, and I tend to believe this, that the light bulb that we have today was not created by Edison or whatever this. No, it was a black man. And remember this, listen.
Yes.
Remember, that was
New Jersey.
Yeah, thank you, sister. There was a time in this country that if you were a black person inventing things during this revolution, you could not get a patent for your invention. It had only a white man could get a patent. So you had situations in this country where a black man or woman would create an invention. The white man would get the patent for the invention. Next thing you know, his name is on the goddamn patent. So then he gets the credit for it.
Right. But doesn't that also proves the laziness of them?
Once again, yes. So when we talk about going from an agricultural economy in this country to an industrial economy, black people are responsible for this industrial economy. God damn it. So therefore, we're the only people on this damn planet, on this damn continent, right, on this damn place that we live in called America, who can claim that we're more goddamn American, that we got more claim in this land than anybody here, including white folks.
That's what I said. And I said in the video, I said, okay, back.
You're hearing some back sound?
I'm hearing some feedback.
Okay, I'm pushing. I got my there. You probably should hear it now. You're not hearing it now, right?
No, I don't hear it now.
Okay, yeah, I know what it was. I have my board on.
But you know what? That is the truth. And you got to understand, the biggest economy was the slave economy in this country. 91% of America's wealth came from cotton during chattel slavery.
Exactly.
That cotton was responsible for building universities, building roads. They took some of that investment from all the cotton that they trade worldwide to buy more slaves. Okay. They built their white-only schools. Remember, schools were segregated. All of those public white-only schools, all of that, everything was built. Loans that banks gave out, those loans came from slavery. The insurance policies, all that money was funded through slavery. It's documented. So even if they try to claim, no, white people built America, they're a damn lie, because you can go in the history and see how they funded everything. And they even wrote it out. Just type in slave economy. Just type that in any Google search and you'll see how much of that money went towards loans they got,
Exactly.
houses they bought, schools that were put up, roads that were put in. We literally built the entire infrastructure of this land.
When you
slavery.
That's right. When you look at, folks, when you get in your car, remember this. When you get in your car and you drive down the street and you stop on a green light, no, you drive on a green light, you stop on a red light, you yield on a yellow light. I want you to remember, brother
Garrett Morgan.
Garrett Morgan. Thank you. Garrett Morgan. I had a little brain fart there. Garrett Morgan.
And also, brother, when you open and close your refrigerator and that light comes on and off, that came from him too.
Exactly. Now, the reason why this is very special, because what are those colors related to? Red, green. Yeah, those are African colors.
Mm-hmm.
So when you stop your car, I want you to have a smile on your face when you stop on red and you go on green. And remember Gary Morgan and say, a black man has allowed us to be able to drive on these streets like we got some civilization about ourselves. Okay? Black man did this, and he used those African colors. It should be a reminder to you. So when you look at the infrastructure in this country, you got to say, damn, even, you know where the term grease monkey comes from, right? They used to have black men when the train, you know what causes the trains to connect to each other? They used to have black men who would grease the stuff. So the train connect, they call them grease monkey. That's why they used to call us grease monkeys, family.
Just like the term cowboy. Cowboy were the black men that took care of the cattle. But you see how white men have hijacked that term cowboy.
Exactly.
We're not cowboys. The only cowboys were black men.
Exactly. And then eventually, Lisa, a black man came along, created an invention so that the train carts could connect with each other. So then you can get out of that dangerous work of being a grease monkey. So this country, industrialization.
You know the whole postal system came from a black man?
Yes, I've heard of that. I don't know all the details, but I've heard of it.
And I mean, even the express, like when they express packages to you, that all came from a black man. He came up with that. The first express mail came from, he actually made boats so that they could get from state to state with the mail.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the whole system was designed from us.
Oh,
it's just laughable how they try so hard to exclude us from everything and stamp their white faces on everything. And it really, you know, think about this, brother. This place would be less than a third world country if we were not here at all.
Now, I have a theory, though, sister, and you're absolutely right. Basically, this country owes their industrialization to black people. But check this out. I got a theory here. What if, this is a what if we had never been put on slave ships? We had never been brought to this country with all these great minds. What if those great minds would have been in Africa, and somehow those great minds would have created these inventions to industrialize Africa?
Africa would have been better off.
Then when we look at that movie Black Panther, check this out, though. Check this out. I got some theory to my madness here. When you look at that movie, The Black Panther, where it had the Wakanda, this world that no one had ever seen, right? They had all that technology. Just imagine if all these black people that invented things in America, that helped to industrialize America, were alive in Africa and could have industrialized Africa. Would Africa, this is the theory, would Africa look very different overall? Because I know there's some industrialized cities in some places like Kenya, but would it look different overall? Because the mines that have been stolen from its what was brought to America, America basically stole Africa's knowledge in our seed of our ancestors.
Yeah.
Africa be a different place today had those mines been able to work on the technology in Africa, since Africa has all the raw minerals, all the raw material.
The richest continent on the planet.
I mean, I know I'm sounding far out here, but I'm telling you, just imagine, could our ancestors that were brought here, could they have took Africa to a whole different level?
Absolutely.
With the minds that they brought to this country.
Absolutely.
For generations.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I believe Africa would have been much better off and would have been further along.
Yeah, because I read
not is because of all of the outside interference that's in Africa.
Now, I read a book once that talked about the destruction of Africa, and they took only the strongest, healthiest individuals out of that continent. They didn't take the elderly. They didn't want them. So if you think about it, over all these centuries,
and also the wealthiest.
And the wealthiest, thank you.
Yeah, they also took the wealthiest people out of Africa.
So if you take the wealth out of Africa, you take the healthiest and strongest out of Africa, then you would destroy Africa, because the minds of the young people, the creative minds of the young people, were taken away.
Yes. Yeah. You know, and you know, it's not a coincidence that the people down on the plantation were working the fields. Do you know when they brought them over, the ones that were working the plantation and the most sought after were slaves from places like Nigeria and Ghana, because they were experts at planting vegetation. So they didn't want just any slave. They wanted a specific slave for the South. So they knew what they were getting. They knew what they were getting when they snatched our people up. They knew they were getting the cream of the crop. And that's what they got. And didn't deserve it, but that's what they got.
You're absolutely right.
We know they don't deserve it.
No, they didn't deserve it. So that's why we as Black people, we need to get away from these notions that we're lazy.
No, we're not lazy.
We're not lazy.
Like I said, that comes from them, because we refused to work for free, you know. So that's when we became lazy. It is all tied together from slavery, all of it. All right, brother. Here's another topic. Eric Gardner's, the cop that killed him, Danny Pantaleo. They are now talking about he may be brought up on charges for doing that illegal chokehold. I'm not holding my breath, because we know it's very rare for a cop to be punished in America. But, you know, nevertheless, he's under investigation for the murder of Eric Gardner. Now, did you know, since Danny Pantaleo got away with this murder, he has been given over $500,000?
What? Are you serious?
He made over $500,000 over the last 4 years for killing Eric Gardner.
So he gets a
Remember, you know, same thing happened to Darren Wilson. He damn near, he became a millionaire after killing Mike Brown. See, there's a lot of sneaky things going on. Like these cops, when they kill one of us, they be raising all kinds of funds, and the unions be giving them all kinds of money for killing us. But yes, Danny Pantaleo, who choked out Eric Gardner, got over $500,000.
I can't. You've got to be. Oh my God.
No.
You've got to be kidding me. $5,000?
$500,000. $500,000.
So now we're rewarding
killing Eric Gardner.
So now we're rewarding police for killing us.
Yes.
You got to be kidding me.
But remember, the Florida man that was shot through his garage door, they got 4 cents. Remember that 4 cents reward?
That was
4 cents reward for that. But the killer that choked out Eric Gardner, Danny Pantaleo, got $500,000 that he made for killing Eric Gardner.
Killing Eric Gardner.
Yep. Choking him out. Illegal chokehold.
Crazy. It's just crazy. You know, Mike, My God. So basically, there's a bounty on us too. If you kill a Negro, you get a reward.
It's killing us.
Yeah, it's money. It's money. It's the business of killing us.
Yes.
Once again, this is almost like bounty. It's back to the bounty hunting again. I want them alive or I want them dead, so I can this is crazy. This is the kind of world that we live in. This is 2018, and you've got police officers getting this kind of money as a reward for killing Black people.
Yes.
And you tell me that this isn't a form of this white supremacist structure in this country.
Yeah.
This is happening all across the country.
It's rigged.
It's rigged. It's a rigged system that's against us.
Yeah, it's a rigged system to no matter what they do, no matter how heinous it is, the system is rigged for them to always come out on top and for us to always lose.
Yeah. Well, let me say something, Lisa. This is why we as Black people, we need to stop hating on one another. Now, if someone does something wrong that they're not supposed to do, then they got to be held accountable amongst us. But overall, we got to stop hating on each other, because our enemy is making money off our death.
Yes.
Our enemy is being sanctioned to kill us. Our enemy is infiltrating all structures of life in this, all structures of institutions in this society to kill us, to destroy us, to discredit us. We can't be, we got to use these platforms to empower one another and to inform one another, to organize each other. But we can't be spending a lot of time being hateful towards one another if we don't really deserve that type of hate that we can, jealous and envy is one of the things that can be our Achilles heel. Jealous of and envy of one another.
Brother, have you ever seen this?
Okay, let me see. Oh, I got that here at home. I got a copy of this.
The nigger hunting license.
Yeah, I think I got a copy of something like that.
And what they used to do was give these out at state fairs.
The state of Missouri, nigger hunting license.
There's a bunch of them. Yep.
Oh my God.
A bunch of them, different states. And what they would do is have state fairs and give these out.
Yes. Oh my God. At least I'm gonna have to download this myself and check this out. Wow, look at this. Nigger hunting license.
From the federal government.
From the federal government. They sanctioned our hunt. They sanctioned hunting us.
Yes, and they still do. They still do. This is why the government has done nothing to stop all of the killings. This is why they did nothing to stop all of the lynchings when they were going on back in the day. Well, they're still going on now because we're still hearing the stories. But but brother, this government has always sanctioned our deaths. They always looked the other way as we got killed. And on that alone, we should be getting reparations.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah. And they're not even ashamed of this stuff. It's disgusting. They're not even ashamed.
I've never actually seen one of these before. I'm very definitely blown away. I know these things existed, but to actually see.
They carry them in their wallets, yeah. And you see what it says, season open from January 1st, closes December 31st. So year round, they have the right to kill us.
So I wonder what would people say if Black people, we create our own license to hunt white folks. And let's say, let's say you get stopped by a cop and they say, let me see your wallet, and something pulls out of your wallet and it says to hunt a cracker license.
Yeah, they would have a fit over it. They would have a fit over that.
Wow. Maybe we should create.
All of a sudden, it'll be wrong.
Maybe we should create a cracker license.
I mean, the legacy is so bad. And brother, it's going to be a lot more coming out that we don't know. I mean, like I said, I was blown away with the first story, you know, with them trading bonds for police brutality. I was just too through when I came across this. I was too damn through.
Well, when you're dealing with people, as we said earlier, that were criminals, they came over here as criminals, they pillaged when they got over here, and they continued their criminal ways all the way up to the day. The animal behavior, and this is what you get when you're dealing with this type of animal that we're dealing with. And so I think I think Black people need to be educated on what they're dealing with. I think a lot of Black people are going around and think that they're dealing with a human being and not realizing that we get the hell that we get because we're dealing with something that's not human.
Right.
We are human, but they're not human.
Exactly.
And we try to deal with them like they're human. That's why when that son of a you know what goes into that church and he kills 9 beautiful Black people, and then you got people singing hymns, and you got Obama.
How about the judge that said we should pray for Dylan Roof? I was like,
no,
yeah, right.
I don't want to see any more Black people singing hymns when we're being killed by these monsters. You had Obama who rocked everybody to sleep with that damn Al Green song. What the hell that got to do with the fact that these people were killed by this boy?
Nothing.
Sucker should be hung up. Oh God.
Nothing.
So I don't want to see Black people singing hymns.
The problem is too many of our people are too damn gullible.
Yeah, because we think that they're human.
Like if a white person comes and says something that you've already been saying all along, they make a big deal out of it. Why?
Right.
Or if a white person apologizes, they just melt. And I'm like, why? And number 2, I'm not accepting no goddamn apology for 5 centuries of hell.
No.
You know, I don't know what's wrong with some of our people, but that's how they are.
Well, we've been conditioned culturally to be forgiving of our oppressors. Yeah. It's the Stockholm syndrome, right? You start to identify with those that are oppressing you, and it all is on our psyche because they put the white Jesus on us, you see?
Yeah.
To see our oppressor as gods.
Oh my.
That's why Black people that's why Walter Scott, who gets shot in the back, that's why his family members could sing hymns.
Well, how about Nia Wilson's godfather telling the Black community to stand down?
Oh, that's some bullshit. That's some coonery.
Ooh, I was like, I can't even listen to this man.
I'm telling you, if that was my daughter, if that was to happen to my loved one, it's going to be on the 10 o'clock goddamn news. Okay? I'm not telling nobody to stand down from nothing. There has to be retribution when you put your hands on the Black family. Black people need to get out of all of this forgiveness and I was going to forgive them. Let's all hold hands and say we're going to overcome. The hell with that. You can hold hands and sing these hymns. It still don't change that individual killed your family member. That individual's trying to oppress your community. We ain't got time to be singing hymns.
I don't get that either. I don't get that either, brother. How about these white women putting their damn hands on our kids? Now, you remember the pool, Becky, the one that was at the pool talking to the Black teens, talking about why are you here? You don't belong here. And she strikes this teen 3 times. I'm sorry. Me as a parent, I would have beat her ass down to nothing. Okay? No. That's where I draw the line. My biggest issue is when they put their hands on our kids. Or they approach our kids, just like that Hermit Patty. What the hell is she doing approaching? What was she? 10 years old?
She's a minor. She's got no business harassing a minor.
You're not if you got any problem with a Black child, you should see the parent. What the hell are they doing approaching our kids? That's where I have a huge problem. I know, that's where I draw the line.
That's exactly where I draw the line. I'm gonna tell you right now, Black people, when they harm us, in my opinion, you've got no goddamn business trying to sing no damn hymns talking about let's forgive. And that's, I mean, it's just like Andrew Young's coon ass. The young people in Atlanta, Georgia were upset over something that happened, and they bring him out there and he's trying to calm everybody down with all of this let's all join hands crap. People don't want to hear that stuff no more.
No.
Rights has been long over.
The problem is, brother, when people in our community come out with that stuff, they should get hell from us.
Yes.
You know, they should get pure hell from us. And, you know, we know all of that I forgive you stuff is just nothing but cowardly stuff. You know, and unfortunately, we have way too many coward men and women in the midst. We have too many. It's too many. To the point where when one of us are ready to stand up, they want to discourage everybody from doing it. And that's been an ongoing problem. And it's the reason why we're still caught up in this bullshit that we're in. You know, I don't know. You know, I think we have to start dealing with the people among us that don't want to fight. And those people are going to have to stay silent. They got to be silenced, period. You know, it's just like, you know, it amazes me how her godfather tells the Black community to stand down, but Fox News put on a piece trying to demonize Nia Wilson. How come he didn't tell them to stand down?
Well, it's once again, this is the problem, Lisa. Tell me if you think I'm wrong or right. I think the more we empower our young people, I hear everyone on here say a lot, kings and queens. The more we empower our young people that they're kings and queens or that they're gods or whatever the term you want to use that empowers them, the more we see ourselves as important, the less we will depend on seeing white people as above us. With him making the father making those statements tells you that he's been indoctrinated with inferiority complex, that he sees white people as superior and Black people as inferior. And therefore, when we do that, we will marginalize, underestimate, and undervalue each other. If I tell my child as she grows up, you are a queen, you are a goddess, there's no one is more above you, she won't have this inferiority complex when she grows up, and will grow up and say, oh, this white person can kill my family and I can forgive them. No, we have to start putting that type of ideology. We have to change the ideology and how we talk to each other, how we speak. That's why I like that we use those terms, because it's positive. It is positive. It resonates something in us. We have to get away from this minstrel show, this gospel show that we're under. Okay.
Yeah. I agree.
And that's what brings about a father telling Black folks in Oakland to stand down. What the hell are you talking about? Stand down. Your child was murdered by one of these individuals, and you're telling people that it's going to be the Black community that's going to support your ass when things go thick and thick.
And the thing is, she died such a horrific death. You know, I mean, can you imagine? She bled out. She bled to death on that train. And you know, when you get your throat cut, it don't take long for you to bleed out and die.
Oh, that's it for you.
You know, that's why, you know, when the father said he went up there, she was already under a tarp, dead, covered up, you know. And, you know, I don't know. You know, we're going to have to do better in looking out for each other. When we see somebody that don't look right out in public, we're going to have to just start distancing ourselves from anybody that just don't look right, or some strange white person out of the ordinary just approaching you. You don't know who the hell they are, and just get away from these people. And that was one thing I said in one of my videos, Information Man Show. I said, when they come up to you and say, I'm calling the cops, and you know no crime was committed, you didn't do anything wrong, and they're fabricating this whole situation, leave. Leave. You don't have to stand there like some runaway slave that just got caught.
Mm-hmm.
You can leave. But if you insist on standing there, make sure you film everything and you call the cops on them. But no, you don't let them have the upper hand. That's why I was telling everybody when this happens, you make sure you get file a claim and go after these people monetarily for starting this whole situation, getting the cops involved. You play that thing out. You play it out. I'll be on the phone, 911. Some crazy opioid addict just came up to me, and I don't know why they're bothering me. Oh, I'll be. You wait until I get on the phone. Just wait. 911. This white supremacist meth head just walked up to me. She's acting really erratic and crazy. I need someone out here.
Mm-hmm.
You watch how I play that shit up.
It comes down to being as a black man and woman, we have to be uncompromising. Too often I see some of our people being very compromising. Oh, going with whatever the flow is. We have to stand on our principles, stand on our sword, whatever you want to call it, stand on our ground, and do not bend.
Yeah.
The bottom line, do not bend, don't shuck and jive, and oh, got it, Woody. No, we got to get away from that.
And you got to stop getting upset because they're setting you up. You know, what they do is they'll come up and start the situation. And when you're right in the middle of trying to defend yourself and you're yelling and raising your voice, that's when they actually got 911 on the phone.
So what we need to do as black people is exercise trying to use more logic and less emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for example, I'm a follower or student of Neely Fuller Jr. And there's a couple of funny little animated cartoons that they do of him on YouTube. They're kind of cute, actually.
Yeah, actually, that guy's out of Canada. I gave him a few donations.
And you got Neely Fuller Jr. talking, and you got the little cartoon character. It's really kind of funny to me. And there's a one that I was listening to, in which he portrays the ideology of white people and how they see us. And the one thing that white people know about us is that we are emotional.
Yes.
And the setup on this cartoon narration was that this is how a lot of times we get fired on jobs. They already know that we're emotional. They say they got a son, they got a brother or cousin. They want to give them that job. Well, how do we give them that job? We're going to get rid of this Negro, right? We know that black people are emotional. So we're going to do something to cause a disruption towards that black worker so that we can fire him, because we know that he's about what? What is the one thing that black people have? What is it? It's our pride. We want respect. Put some respect on it, right? We got that respect factor. So white people have studied us, and they know that we're into the whole respect thing. We're into how you talk to us, and we get emotional, some of us. And once they set something in motion to cause our emotions to get out of control, which gives them the power they need to get rid of us. Mm-hmm. All areas of life, education, work, politics, everything. We need to get our emotions out of all these areas, because these are the areas in which they use our emotions against us as a weapon. So as emotional we are as a people, it can also be our downfall when it's used against us.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm saying we can turn that around on them, because number one, when they come up accusing us of stuff at that stage, they are emotional. And, we need to set up some speed dial when they come up to us. And that way, when they're babbling in the background, you got 911 on there.
Exactly.
Where you can just hit one button and it'll just dial through to 911, and you can just stand there, and we know opioids and drugs is a huge problem among them, and you just play that shit up. I think this white person, I think this woman is on drugs.
Yeah.
Looks crazy. Her eyes don't look right, like she's on opioids or something. I mean, you just let them approach me because I'm gonna be playing that shit up.
The most dangerous thing to the system, and Neely Fuller Jr. talks about this, is when we as Black people get on code, work with each other, get our emotions out of everything. If all of you were to try this in your own life when you deal with white folks, you are more dangerous. They are more spooked out by us when we're calm as a bird. If we're calm as a bird, they're gonna expect you to get your voice loud, to get your willing of your hands and all of that. They're expecting that. But when you do the opposite of that and you're calm and you still report their ass, you still make them pay the price. Do you know how dangerous that is? Yes. To the white power system, or to the white system, to this inferior system is what they really are, the inferiority system. It's very dangerous to them because that shows that you're in control of your emotions. And if you're in control of your emotion, you can organize. And if you can organize with controlled emotions, you can do some serious damn damage.
Oh, brother, you know what? A couple of videos I did, you know how trolls will come and they'll challenge me. At first, I used to interact with them. This was a few years ago. I would enter, and they would always come with that, well, where's your proof? Get me proof. How do I know? And you know what? Now I turn around and I'll say to them, I'm not getting you proof. I said, why should I get proof for somebody with a high IQ? You look it up yourself. Mm-hmm. And that took them back. I guess they thought, I guess because they were so used to dealing with Black people, oh, let me go get you this link and let me go get you that link. I won't do it. I'll tell them straight up. Anybody walking around here talking about your IQ is high, I shouldn't have to do anything for you. You should be able to look up stuff and find it yourself.
Exactly.
And I notice whenever I start doing that, they don't know what to say to me. They don't know what to say. That's why I'm saying we have to start doing things that they're not used to getting from us, and because it really throws them off big time. Like you said, when we get our emotions up, that's what they're expecting. So now, like you said, we have to give them something they were never expecting.
Yeah, you want to counter them in a way that destroys their.
Want to be predictable.
Yeah, because once you get emotional, when the police or whoever gets on the scene, now you look like the one who's the perpetrator of, and not the victim of this person's racism. See, so you stay calm. Now we know either way, when you're dealing with these animals, anything is possible. But as long as you keep your control, if we did that collectively as a people, we would give this system a hell of a hard time.
Yeah. And not only that, like you said before, we got to stop appealing to these people. We have humanity and we keep trying to appeal to them as if they have humanity and they don't have it.
Yes.
You can't appeal to them because, it's just going to go in one ear and out the other. Save your energy.
If Black people could understand that, and I don't think there's any, you got Dr. Claudette Anderson out there, Dr. Umar, you got many people out there, but I don't think I've ever heard anyone out there who's prominent talk about this in this way, and in the sense that we as Black people need to understand that we're not dealing with humans. No, so therefore you're wasting your time trying to deal with them as if they're human, or thinking that they're going to treat you humane. What you want to do is you want to get home safe. What you want to do is you want to make sure you don't lose your life. And that's where the emotions that we have as a people can get us in a situation where we lose our life. Now, in some cases it don't, because you saw in Minnesota where Orlando Castillo, he was trying to tell the officer, hey, I got a weapon. I have a license to carry it. I want to let you know that. I want to get my license for you. And he still got shot.
Right.
Okay. So that's just one of the hazards of living in this prison system, as my man Neely Fuller Jr. would say, because we live in a system in which every time we go out the door, we're basically, I know people won't like to hear this, we're basically inmates walking outside of our door, going to work, going to the store. See, this is the problem. This is the problem, Sister Lisa. Many black people in America believe that they are citizens. If you go back into history, they didn't really give us citizenship. They didn't really free us. They gave us emancipation, but they never really gave us complete freedom. And I believe that one of the reasons why we do get treated the way we do is because white people in the 21st century, they still see black people as their slaves and their possessions.
Right. They're taught. It's a generational thing that they pass down. Yes.
Which is why Donald Trump can say, "Oh, there is my African American," as if we are a possession.
Yeah, see? The blacks.
And so when I listen to Negroes in these political shows and these radio shows, I listen to a lot of different stuff, Lisa. A lot of these black folks that you see in these political shows, they're talking like a black person that thinks that they're free, that they have a stake in the government, like the government was set up for them. And when I hear black folks talk like that, I want to like bust the television, because I'm like saying to myself, fool, they still think that you're 3/5 human beings. They haven't even taken that off the books.
First of all, I don't understand why black politicals don't understand that. I mean, look, every time black people run for office, they don't get hardly any campaign money. They don't get the same campaign money that whites get. That should tell you right there. They don't see you they don't even see you as a citizen that should even be running for office. They don't want to give you nothing.
Look. I'll give you a good example.
That should tell you right there. That's why a lot of times when they're running their mouth on TV, I kind of just laugh at them.
I laugh at them too. All these guys, the Van Jones, he's done some good work in the community with the green energy. But even Van Jones with his show, that's all watered down stuff. Look, let me give you a perfect example. Michael Steele is a Republican.
Yes.
Remember, he became the chair of the Republican Party. He lasted for about he lasted about as long as I can eat a Big Mac and fries, Lisa. Okay.
I remember.
Okay. You know what happened to him? Even Joe talked about this. Madison. He wanted to be his own man and get his own people and have his own philosophy. And them white folks said, "No, Negro, we just put you in this position for window dressing. We didn't put you in this position to think for yourself and be your own man. You're just a token." And you know what a token is? If I say to you, Lisa, if I say, "Hey, how much is this?" You're going to say, "That's 10 cents. How much is that?" "That's 25 cents. A token is the value that the person that gives it to you puts on you. He was nothing but a lapdog. The minute he tried to be his own man, they did what? They got rid of the Negro. And the Negro didn't have sense to realize, let me get the hell out of the Republican Party, because look at how they treated me. And he's been so loyal to the Republican Party. And when he got his first taste to be in charge, they said, "Oh, Negro, you can't be your own man. You are one and done, Negro."
Yeah. Yeah, I remember how they treated him.
Now, that's a perfect example. He's in the political game. Okay.
Well, I, for the life of me, can't see how, I think both parties have done us wrong, but I really don't see how any black person can be a conservative. That makes no sense to me. What are they conserving?
Well, you will hear, ask yourself this, Lisa. What is the relevance of the black conservative? Because most of the time, see, I look at black conservatives as sort of like mascots for white people, because most of the time, black conservatives spend most of their time talking about what's wrong with the black community more than they talk about real political issues. Right. So when Obama was in office, did you notice this? Everybody listening to the chat room, did you notice this? When Obama was in office, you notice that Fox News had all these black folks on there.
Yes.
All these black people were on all these programs, right? They were using a lot of these black conservatives to attack Obama, so that if the white conservatives attacked Obama, they would be seen as racist. But if you have black attack dogs or lap dogs attack Obama, then the white people can hide behind these Negroes and say, "Oh, it's not racism. See, even his own people have a problem with him."
Right.
So that's the political game that they play. Now, as soon as Donald Trump got in office, all these black folks, that were on Fox News and all these programs have been let go little by little. Who was the darling child on Fox News? Who was that has been actress? What's her name?
Stacey Dash.
Yeah, remember Stacey Dash was the rave of town in the conservative, right? Soon as Donald Trump got in office, what did Fox News say? Goodbye, Felicia. We don't need you. We were simply using you so that you could attack Obama and many other black folks. Black conservatives are only relevant to that party when it comes to talking about black people. Other than that, they have no value to the Republican Party, which is why I don't understand why they remain a part of it, why they talk the talking points, because they're simply being used as tools and fools.
Right. I agree. I agree. Like I said, most of the ones that I have seen over the years, they come and go. They come and go. They have no lasting power at all, which means they literally have a shelf life.
Well, look what happened to
they just kind of just discard them and move on to the next one.
Well, look what happened to, what was the brother who was the pizza king? Godfather's Pizza, some nonsense.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
They got rid of him. He went downhill. You know why he went downhill? What was his Achilles heel? The Negro had a fetish for white women. Remember that? Remember that?
Yep, I remember.
And the minute that Negro women came out and said he was molesting them or doing whatever to them.
Herman Cain.
That
King Hebrew.
Yeah. Herman Cocaine Cain. The minute he got caught with that white woman situation, they said goodbye, Felicia. They said
and, and the thing is, the irony, he had a black wife. But every woman he was sneaking around with was white.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Yeah. And so that's your Achilles heel. You start doing that kind of stuff, you're out of there. So, so these are the reasons I believe why it is foolish to run around calling yourself a black conservative. What are you, like you said, what are you conserving? Because black folks, we hardly have anything to conserve. So what are you talking about? So, another thing too, Lisa, and check this out. Some black people love being the only one. I'm the only Negro in my classroom. I'm the only Negro that's in the Republican Party. I'm the only black person at Yale or Harvard. There are some black people who love being the only one. They love, because they become like a novel, right? They love it. You have black folks, these conservative types, who love being the only one. They love the attention that they get, being the only Negro in the crowd. It's like being, like, when you eat Raisin Bran cereal, and at the end of that cereal, you'll have a couple of dark raisins in that sea of white milk.
Yeah. That's it. That's that girl, Candace Owens. That's how she is.
Yeah, she loves it because she's the only one. And she's getting a lot of attention. She's getting they get book deals. You ever heard of you're familiar with Shelby Steele?
Yes.
Okay, what I found out some years ago, Shelby Steele, Armstrong, the Negro Williams, who I can't stand. Yeah. They all went to San Francisco at the Moscone Center for a Republican conference. Do you know that Shelby Steele, reason why they talk these talking points is because they've been getting paid by the Republican Party. They said, if you talk these talking points, we'll make sure you have book deals to come out with books. You'll get a television show. You'll be on TV, all of this. That's why you were seeing Armstrong Williams on TV some years ago quite a bit. All these black conservatives are selling their soul because they're getting book deals, they're getting TV shows and radio shows to give these Republican talking points and talk about their own people at the same time.
Right. But you know what? I noticed that pattern years ago, and now it done got to the point where if they're not a coon and don't talk against their own people, you can hardly be on TV now. Those are the only ones they want on TV, the ones that will speak against their own community.
Yeah. If you are a black person who's going to talk some real talk, that's like, I give you a perfect example. Like Joe Madison used to always come on CNN quite a bit.
Yeah, he used to be on Al Sharpton's a lot. He would have him on a lot on MSNBC.
he comes on Don Lemon sometimes. He doesn't come on as much, and he talks about it on his show. He says, because I'm not willing to kiss ass, and what happens is they stop inviting you.
Right.
They want black people that think a certain way, talk a certain way, right, that pushes their narrative.
You got to sound like white folks. That's to sum it up in a nutshell.
If you sound like white folks, you're going to be able to stick around.
Yeah.
If you sound like someone, if you sound like a house nigga, stick around. If you sound like a field Negro, you've got to go.
Exactly.
So that's what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's about. That's what it is in a nutshell. But I'm very serious about this, though, Lisa. Even on these YouTubes, and I know that there's been some things happening. You know, people going at each other. I've had my foot in things too. But we really have to get away from emotional content. That when we do our content, we have to get away from putting the emotional battle with each other. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
We've got to be logical of how we deal with each other. We've got to think logical. The emotions will destroy us.
Yes, I agree. And not only that, you don't want to be so emotional that you invite the trolls in to kind of, because they love when we are divided and they want to jump in and try to instigate and make things worse.
Yeah. Well, we become what you call reality TV for them.
Yeah.
Literally real reality TV at that. Not even with a damn script in our hand. Okay. And so they're loving it. They're loving. And one thing I can say to everybody from my personal discovery, a lot of these trolls, particularly these white trolls, they're very well organized. They're organized, they work together, and they will come together to swamp your channel.
Yes.
That's why I kept telling folks, when we encounter these individuals, we need to come down and swamp their platforms as well, because that's what they're doing to us.
That's what I'm saying, because I said this before. I said they got an army. Where's our online army?
We
Where's our online army?
We don't have one, Lisa, because we're spending too much time arguing with each other over silly things.
Yeah, too many things that really don't matter, you know. And that's what I was trying to say in one of my videos. I said, you know what? Even if I don't care for you, if a troll came up here, I'm on your side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm never going to side with no troll. I'm on your side. And if we have any differences, those differences go away when that troll is around.
Exactly. That's right. That's being on code.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, let's just be honest. There are going to be people that we don't like, that we've had problems with. But I think when it comes to this sort of stuff, we got to be on code. Be on code, work together. Doesn't mean you got to be friends. You ain't got to be kumbaya. Because we know that people sometimes have done things that have got under people's skin. And you say, hey, I'm finished with that person, you know?
Yeah.
I personally have discovered some things that have been disheartening for me. Learning that, you know, there's people out there that will hate on you, make up lies about you. And it seems to be that if they see you having any level of success, then that's when the more hate comes towards you. And I don't understand sometimes why we as a people just can't like say, you know what, let me be happy for this person's success, because if this person is having success, that shows me that I can have the same success as well.
Absolutely.
And if we can work together. Now, people will make fun of me and say, why does he reach out to people? Right? I reach out to people because I want to work with my people. I don't think we should be on islands on this thing. I think we should work with our people. Okay. And unfortunately,
I had people, brother, not to stop you, but I had people say to me, well, I'm surprised that you're putting something, because I'll go to a video and maybe the person have maybe, 300-400 subscribers, and I'll put something in the comment section and they'll come back and say, well, I'm really shocked that you're here. I didn't think you would talk to somebody like me.
What do they mean?
I'm so arrogant. Yeah. I'm not like that. And they were like, well, you got 20-something thousand subscribers. I didn't think you talked to somebody like me. I said, well, where did you think I began? When I came out on YouTube, I had 111 subscribers. So I know what it's like to start with just a small little amount of subscribers. So you think because I now have 20,000, I can't relate to somebody that just have a few hundred?
Well, unfortunately,
where the hell did that come from?
Well, I think, unfortunately, Lisa, is that there are areas in YouTube where people have lots of subscribers and they sort of, not to name any names, they sort of are on this high cloud of success. And so therefore they feel like, hey, I'm talking to a peasant here. So that's why that person probably was shocked by that, because they figured that you probably will be on that same type of nonsense, you know. But that's the reason why my thing is, it's about, I think it's about, to me, it's about connecting with Black people that are doing something positive and grow and reach out and collaborate and help each other. Now, unfortunately, you know, I was told to watch out for people that I connect with, but unfortunately, though, for me, Lisa, it wasn't the people that I connected with that sort of threw me under the bus. It's the people that I thought were rocking, that were, you know, supporting me, that were the ones that sort of assassinate my character. It wasn't the people that I was reaching out with and collaborating with. I've talked to some YouTubers that are pretty got a nice size of channel, and they have been more than respectful to me and want to work with me. It's folks that I thought that really understood what I'm trying to do. I've never once came on here and, you know what, I'll be honest with you. We all have moments when we can get a little big-headed. And I had a moment last weekend where I got a little stupid. I'll be honest. And I'm a human. I'm not going to sit up here and say I'm perfect. I got a little silly. And I learned from that. And it was a lesson well learned and understood for me personally. Right? But that is not, but overall, if you really look at my body of work since everyone has encountered me, most of my message has been about unity and working together with people. I have not per se tried to go out of my way to hate on people or put someone down or what have you. My message has been a message of trying to unify people together. So I just hope that people, you know, will understand that, you know, given my silly video a week ago, will understand that that's really what my mission is on here, is to inform, to educate, and to learn from other people like yourself, and to empower my people, hopefully empower us in a way that it will help you go back to your individual communities and organize in your community. Hopefully talk about issues that you've never talked about before, that you never thought about. Bring people onto the platform that can educate you about some things. I got a brother that I'm going to be bringing on that lives in Japan. And you know, he told me that these are the original Black Japanese people, the Black samurai, they still live in Japan. They're just not recognized in the society.
The Black Chinese people, they got a section of people that are Black that are still there, that are the direct descendants of the original Chinese people, which were Black.
But they're not being recognized in this society.
No, in this society, remember, anything that's pale, propped up. So if you're not pale, you're not going to be seen. You know, but we know there are Black populations all over this globe that are not being seen. It's just like even in the Arab world, they always want to show you the mulatto, light-skinned Arab, but most of Saudi Arabia are Black people. But you would never know it when you watch TV because they don't show that Black population.
No, they don't.
I mean, it's amazing how they turned this entire planet anti-Black. And we are still seeing the results of it. You know, I mean, it's a damn shame. I feel, you know, over the years when I start seeing, you know, different locations where our people are, it's a damn shame that we never had a good line of communication with our people outside of the United States. We don't even know who they are. But what was strange was back in the day, I used to be on AOL and they had like a little chat.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on there and I met some Black people that lived in India. And they were saying back then, they were like, we're learning Malcolm X. We're learning about the African Americans. And they said, you know, we consider y'all the leader of all of the Black groups on the planet. And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah, we know because y'all did the civil rights movement and y'all are always fighting and protest. So we look at y'all as the, you know, the Black people in America as the leaders of all of the Black groups on the planet.
You're absolutely right, Lisa.
Yeah.
They do. A lot of people do look up to us and they emulate us. And that's why it's very important for us to think about how we portray ourselves in this society. That's why that's why they continue to show us as negative.
Yes.
So that message will be sent to other people in the world that, oh, you can't mess with these Negroes in America. They're buffoons.
Mm-hmm.
They want to push that image of us. That's why they don't, like, for example, and I got to give True Royal Family credit for this. She sent me the materials that I did the research on about Memoranda 46. And in that memoranda,
I got that.
Oh, okay. You got that too. Beautiful.
Yeah.
In that memoranda,
I just start reading through it.
Okay, great. I did a little video about that, and it specifically talked about doing what? Separating Black people from African people, separating us from the brothers in the Caribbean and the brothers in the continent. They want to destroy a relationship between us because they know if we connect, then it's game over for them, Lisa. It's game over.
Uh-huh. That is the truth. But I was just blown away with how much they, when we were talking, and they were like, you know, we want to know y'all, but we don't know how to communicate with you. But they were telling me there's a whole population of descendants of slaves right there in India. And they said, you know, they go through all the discriminations and everything there. And they were like, we want to hook up with you in America, but nobody here can figure out how to do it. And, you know, and it's amazing to me because I've also met online some Africans that pretty much said the same thing. We want to get to know y'all, but nobody here in Africa knows how to, you know, initiate a relationship with the African Americans that are over there. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's mind blowing how many people really see us in such a big way in the world. But because the news is so negative in the US, you would never know it. You know?
What's the one narrative that's pushed, Lisa? They tell us all the time, Black folks don't go to Africa, stay away from Africa, right?
Oh, and it's a shithole.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Asians are over there. The white folks are all over Africa, in different parts of Africa. This is the narrative that's wrong. We need to get away from that narrative. I think the first thing you should do, pick a country that speaks to you, do some research on it, go see it for yourself, and and see that there's a variety. Yes, there are poor areas, but there are also developed areas. If you go see it for yourself, experience the people for yourself, when you come back to America, get your passport, folks, then you will have a better perspective than you have just living in America, only going on what American news gives you. I tend to, Lisa, try to up my knowledge by looking at news from around the world. So when I go on the computer, I try to look at foreign news and news in Africa and some of the networks that are African Pacific to learn some things that I'm not going to learn about when I here in America. Now, I remember when I was in school, and I went through a process, we were told we had to have a newspaper every day when I went to school, when I went to college. And a brother would always say to me, can you tell me what's going on in Africa? Because you should be well read about what's happening in the whole world. That carried on with me to this very day, that it's important. You know, nobody carries a newspaper around anymore. You look kind of funny now with all carrying a newspaper, but don't sleep on newspapers, because I believe Dick Gregory used to read a bunch of them every day. Don't sleep on them. But I need to get on my computer, look at what's going on, have my alerts, bells, and everything popping up and seeing, okay, what's happening with this? Because they're not telling us anything over here.
No.
All we learn about every day on the news is Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. Russia, Donald Trump, Russia, Donald Trump. That's all you're hearing.
Yeah.
Not news. It's damn near propaganda.
Well, it's really not really geared towards us anyway. The news is primarily about white folks. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I stopped watching it, because it's this politician, these folks over here, and whenever they do tell a positive story, it's never us. So I was like, then why am I watching this shit? I don't want to watch this. And I turned it off. I have not sat down in my house to watch mainstream media for a few hours straight. I think the last time was 2007.
Yeah.
And right there, I just got so turned off by it, I walked away.
I'm in the process of seriously considering, because I don't have any contract connection anymore, of getting rid of my cable television. I don't really watch it that much. I don't watch it anymore. I'm getting most of my information watching these programs on YouTube. I'm getting more fulfillment and getting more information just on my computer without spending time looking at television shows in which I end up spending time learning nothing, getting no knowledge.
No. And plus, you know, you look at the data, the main ones watching mainstream media news are elderly people.
And they believe everything that they're looking at.
Yeah, they believe everything. I mean, go figure. Didn't they say you're supposed to have wisdom at that age?
Not if you're not tech savvy. But you know, that would be, I think, can you imagine the doors that it would open if we were able to get some of our more elder community to be able to use some of these technologies that we got here? Yeah. How much enlightening that would add to their quality of life. I think it'd be great. Yeah, I think television is becoming passe now. People are spending more time on their social media devices getting information. You don't need television anymore.
No, it really is obsolete.
Yeah,
I think when the media come out with negative pieces on us, the way we fire back at them is reminding them that, you know, news on social media is booming. Mainstream media is dying. You know, you're really obsolete, you know, and we have to start making them feel like they are nothing. I think that's the best way to fight them. Yeah, well, you came out with this negative piece, but do you realize mainstream media is dead? Nobody's really sitting around listening to you other than a bunch of old people. I'd be slapping their butts in the face all the time. But yeah, you know, mainstream media is really obsolete. I don't think they have been relevant for the last few decades, to be honest with you. I don't see where, you know, like I said, there's not enough good, positive stories about us. They always want to bash us. I'm not going to sit around and listen to them calling us thugs and criminals and stuff. And that's what they do. No, what's going to inspire me to turn that on and sit down and watch it? Nothing. So they won't be getting any ratings from me.
And you know, Black people in general, we do consume too much of this reality crap. So you got some of us in our communities that are consuming this crap and not getting any real they're not getting a balance of knowledge, of real information versus entertainment. Infotainment is what it's called, you know, now. So it's just gotta have a little bit, you gotta have some balance. But I'm actually enjoying this, Lisa, because I'm learning from different people. I listen to you, I listen to True Royal. Brother KD84 has lots of wisdom. A lot of the brothers and sisters that I see in the chat room that you have here that I've heard speak at one time or another, everyone brings, what's going on, King Wage? Good to see you, brother. But it's good to hear people's perspectives. I'm learning, always trying to learn and broaden my horizon, as they say.
Yeah, we're all learning, brother. That's why when people tell me, "Oh, I'm learning so much from you," believe me, I'm learning from you too. I don't know everything. I may have picked up a lot of things because I'm a big reader. So when I pick up something, especially if I know it's going to be beneficial to people in the community, I will pass it along. But believe me, I am still learning just like everybody else out here. I really am.
It's what it's about. You grow, you keep growing, and it should definitely add more quality to your life. And I don't know if you noticed this, as I've gotten older in age, I noticed that I have less tolerance for bullshit. I get to a point where you just don't give a damn anymore. So I'm mellow in some other areas, but in other areas, I don't have tolerance for certain stuff, for certain silliness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should not tolerate silliness in our own community. And if you got family members and people around you.
Yeah, and brother, we're trying to unite. And one of the we have to kick out all of these people that just want to keep divisions going. That's one of the first things we have to do. Those people, we need to start kicking them to the curb and stop letting them obstruct us from coming together.
That's right. If we're on one accord of philosophy that we all can wrap our head around and get around and support, then we don't have time for the silliness that those bring to our community, or even those in our family. Sometimes your family can be your worst enemy. When they see that you're going into a different direction, they may tell you, "Oh, you shouldn't do that if you decide to travel. Oh, you shouldn't travel. Oh, why you want to go over there?" You ever get that?
Yeah, all the time.
Why you do that? Oh, why you want to practice that religion? Oh, why? Because, for the most part, Black people have been taught to be scared, scared. Stay in your place, Negro. You should never explore the world. Just stay in your village.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how, that's how even family members, when I get online and I do my videos and they're like, "How do them white folks feel about what you're saying?" I said, "Do I seem like I give a damn about what they say?" But, I've always been like this, information man, even as a child. I used to be the lone militant one while all the other Black kids in the class would be silent. I've always been like this, and it stayed with me all through adulthood. I got fed up with the oppressor at a very young age when I saw what was going on, and I realized, and I remember the day I was sitting in church sitting next to my mom, and I was looking over at this white Jesus on the stained glass window, and I looked at my mom and I said, "How come I never meet white people like y'all describe this Christ? How come none of them are like that?" And she looked at me and she didn't know what to say, but I knew instantly, even as a child in elementary school, these white people were not what you call Christ-like. But I was the kind of child that was snapping back at white teachers in elementary school. I can't tell you how many times they were calling my house on me, talking to my mom. But my militance came out when I was a kid. I knew that I was never going to like this oppressor. And lo and behold, here I am all these years later. And I seriously, I have no sense of wanting to bond or that diversity talk. I just walk away from that stuff now. Because, I look at it this way, brother. We done tried everything. We tried to assimilate. That doesn't work. We tried to be segregated. They won't let us be segregated. They wanted us integrated. We tried integration. That doesn't work. We done gave everything a try. Now it's time for us to sit down and just do things our way. We've tried everything. Nobody in this country can't say that we did not try. we got to do what's right for us.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Black people have tried everything. That's one of the reasons why when you look at the military, Black people have participated in every military exercise this country's ever had,
Yes.
primarily because Black men from World War I into World War II thought that if they went to war, showed that they were brave in war, that somehow when we went back home, we would get the political capital of being what? Treated as people, as humans.
Right.
That would be well. But what happened to most Black
people? Brother, you know, they lied to our people to, you know, especially our Black men, to get them out there fighting. Virtually all the wars, like Revolutionary War, the Civil War, every single war, they promised freedom. And that was the biggest motivator for our men to get out there and fight. But of course, after they fought, they always would, you know, go back on their word, you know, and that has been the standing pattern, and why so many of our men did fight in those wars, because they had to lie to them in order to get them out on the battlefield.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, some of the first riots that occurred in some of these settings around the country started when Black men came back from World War I and World War II wearing the uniform, and you had these racist white men in the South and throughout the country who could not stand seeing Black men with the uniform on. And Black men said, I'm fighting because I fought for this country. Now I'm going to come back and get treated like this. Oh, hell no. So you had a lot of riots that broke out across this country, you know, through history, of Black men coming back from war, dealing with the racism when they came back here.
Yes.
Well, you had a lot of riots break out in the early going because of that. And Black men that were killed and stripped of the uniform and hung and castrated. Oh yes. We've given a heavy price, which is, once again, I'm going to say it again. Black people, we are more patriotic and we're more citizens than anybody on this damn
you got that right, brother. Nobody has worked harder. There is no group of people that have sacrificed and given more of themselves in this country than us. There is no group of people that have worked harder over the centuries than us. And there, like you said, there is no one that has showed more patriotism up in this bitch more than us. None of these immigrant groups have that same proven track record in this nation like we do.
We fought in every war this country's ever had, from the Revolutionary War.
Built the country. We fought in every war. We have literally set up the entire financial infrastructure of this country.
Exactly.
Off of our blood, sweat, and tears.
So that's, if you really look at it, what we have laid the maps for is the fact that this fact. And that fact is, there's no reason for a Black person to be running around America saying, this ain't my country, let me go over here. There's nothing wrong with having a second place to live. That's how I look at it. It's good to explore a country that you may want to consider living there a few times out of the year, or if not permanently. But as it relates to America, no. We have a stake in this country. Our ancestors do, because we built this country. We laid the industrial revolution in this country and every damn thing else that this country is benefiting from today.
Yes.
See, this is the thing, Lisa.
That's what our people don't get, brother. They think because we are centuries later, generations later, that all of that money that was generated from slavery is not making a difference now. No, yes, it is. That money is alive and well. That money from slavery is alive and well to this day.
Yeah, because you still have actual title companies and businesses.
And you have all the food manufacturing companies that started out of slavery. Del Monte, Libby's, all of those companies came directly out of slavery.
Well,
so
if you look at history very, very shortly here, most of your port, where you have ports, your port, what you would call your port cities, your New Yorks, your Bostons, all of those cities along those border areas, those 13 colony areas, those cities were developed based on through the triangular slave trade.
You ain't never lie.
Created businesses. So you had to have someone make what? Ships to get the slaves.
Right.
clothing for the slaves, food products, all sorts of products, shoes. So what happened is it created an industrial system in which through the triangular slave trade, it industrialized what you have today. When you look at New York skyline, Boston, all those port cities, their skylines were created through the triangular slave system.
And those older buildings that been there for over 100 years, they were built by slaves.
Exactly.
Come to New Jersey, a lot of the old buildings look very similar to the ones that were built by slaves in New York. That's how you know the slaves built these cities all around this country. If you come like the same style of city building that you see in New York, you can drive right over to New Jersey and see that same type of building, that the cities actually mirror each other. And all of those buildings, all the older buildings down there in Manhattan, they were all built by slaves. Every last one of them.
Every last one of them.
That city wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for the slaves. And all of Central Park, that was the Central Park was the black neighborhood at one time. That's where the black people lived.
And what did they do? Just gentrify us out of that area too?
Yeah, they got the black people out of there. But Central Park, all of Central Park was once a bunch of homes that black slaves and black people lived in. That whole park was, you know, a lot of people don't know the history, but we are so responsible for so many things. I mean, from the financial system, Wall Street, the whole thing, we are responsible for the whole thing. And no matter how angry they get with us, there's no getting around it. There's no getting around us making the biggest contribution to this nation. There's no getting around it.
Well, I think, one of the ways to combat some of this is that most of our kids in school, public schools and what have you, they're not introduced to this type of history. Most of the history that they get is a civil rights bastardized history. So every kid learns Dr. King. So you notice they always teach our kids, they always pick the leaders that were the most passive to teach our kids. So they'll use Dr. King. They'll go from Dr. King to Dr. King.
I don't let them get away with using Dr. King to me. You know, I don't, because you know what? They killed him.
Exactly.
Killed him. So no, don't raise up Dr. King in my face and your people killed him. No.
But I feel that if we teach our kids real history that empowers them, then you could do away with these ridiculous black folks who grow up and have these ridiculous sort of, I want to love white people mentality.
Yeah, or I heard from a few black people, well, we're going to have to teach them. No, we don't.
No, I don't have time to teach white folks.
No. We are not responsible for all of this racism. And it's not up to us to unteach it. They are responsible for it. If it's got to be done away with, it's got to come from them. I don't believe racism, eliminating racism is up to us. No, it's up to them. The only thing we need to do, as far as they're concerned, we need to separate from them as much as possible. No, we're not here to teach them nothing.
What's funny to me is when I've had conversations with white people about race, and they always go to their usual card, which is, well, I didn't own any slaves, and I'm not oppressing
individual thing.
And I always say, well, you benefit economically. They benefit economically.
Right. First of all, racism is a system.
Exactly.
So they can't make it an individual thing.
Yeah.
So usually when they try that, well, I didn't do that. Well, it's not an individual thing. Racism is a system. Okay. So when they try to make it an individual thing, it's really stupid. Okay. It's really stupid. And when I stop them when they try to do that mess, because it's a system. It has nothing to do with no damn individual. This was done by virtually all of them, even the ones that sit around and they're passive and try to act like they had nothing to do with anything, they're still benefiting. It doesn't matter if they didn't have a slave. They still benefited, didn't they?
Exactly.
Benefited because they are also part of that same white supremacist system. So no, they don't get off the hook with that argument.
They shouldn't ever be given off the hook. But you got some black folks out there that will give them a pass. You know that. You know the type. You know the type.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't let them get away with that crap.
So,
you know, I mean, that's ridiculous. But brother, I want to thank you for coming on, and we definitely going to have to do some more collaborations in the future.
I love that. I really appreciate you bringing me on board. You surprised me, and I was like, whoa, I felt more than honored. So
before you go, put in the comment section the link to your channel. That way people that are not subscribed to you can subscribe.
Okay, let me I'll do it now. Someone's trying to call me now. My God. Come on, someone's trying to Google hang. Oh, it's the real Aaron Collins trying to contact me now.
Oh, okay.
I can't talk to him right now because I'm on with you. But I'm gonna pull it out. I'm gonna put it in there. Just give me a moment.
Okay.
To I know exactly what I need to do here. Just give me a moment to pull up my my channel here. It'll take me but a minute. I really appreciate you bringing me on, and I appreciate everybody in the chat room who was here listening this evening. I hope that maybe there were some things that were said that you did not know that educated you. There were some things that reinforced knowledge that you were aware of. I hope that it was enlightening to you all in one way or another.
I believe it was. You know, I looked at one point, it was nearly 300 people in here. Who knew? Who knew this many people would be up at this hour?
Yeah, I'm going to go right back. I'm going to pull up the live stream right now. I'm going to drop this in the chat room a few times, and I appreciate you giving me the chance to do this.
Sure, no problem.
All righty, but we definitely have. There's so many other things that I could talk to you about. You know what, Lisa? I can't put it in the chat room because for whatever reason I don't have one of those ranches.
Oh, let me give you one. Go ahead and type something, and I'll mod you.
Oh, oops. Let me see. What am I doing? Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, if you mod me up, then I can put it in there. I appreciate that.
All right, you're a mod. All right, go ahead and try now.
Click that in there. I'll click it one more time, and hopefully everybody will get that. I appreciate that, everybody. Definitely.
If you're not subscribed to the Information Man Show, please get over there and subscribe to him.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I have some. I'm gonna, Lisa. I was telling some folks this. I won't be doing a lot of live streams anymore. What you'll see is me doing interviews with people more. I'm going to go back to what I was doing earlier in my process, and that's making more pre-produced videos. So you're going to see what you saw in the last video that I put out, where I'm going to be out in the field talking to just everyday Black people, giving their opinions about issues. I'm going to be making videos about stuff. I'll do some pre videos that I'll prepare. And then when I do live streaming, it may be mostly because I'm going to interview a guest. I have some really good people that are going to be, that I have lined up that I think will definitely be really good people to listen to, that have some really good points. I'm excited about getting this brother on that I was telling you about. He's called Black in Japan. He was in the military, so that's why he's in Japan now. And he speaks the language a little bit. Like I told you, he told me, we were talking some real deep history, me and him, and he really broke down the history of the Black folks, the Black Japanese, who, by the way, are not getting their due recognition in Japan.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
So,
I am not surprised.
So I'm just gonna let you know once again, thank you. I'm gonna have to get you on my platform. This is my goal. I'm gonna be interviewing True Royal Family. I gotta interview you.
Okay.
But The thing is, is I want it to be something not generic. I want it to be something with really strong can you. Maybe there's something that you haven't revealed about yourself that you may be willing to reveal to the family. I want something exclusive. Okay. Something
not hard to do.
And I kind of want to know, Lisa, I know about your religious passions. Well, I want to know, I've heard you talk about your history in terms of how you got to where you are now. I really want to delve into what makes Lisa who she is. How did you have the sort of thinking that you have, the way you're able to break things down, your critical thinking skills? How did you evolve into this person? Don't tell me now, but when we do the program, I really want to go deeper into the surface of what makes Lisa who she is.
Okay, hey, that's not a hard thing for me to do.
So with that said, I thank you. I'm going to chime out here and thank everybody in the chat room for supporting Sister Lisa. Definitely support her. Thank you. If you support me, I appreciate it. I'm going to be bringing you a lot of good stuff coming forward very soon. And everybody have a good evening. I'm just gonna relax, and thank you for having me here.
All right. Well, you take care.
All right, sister. Thank you. And I love you, Lisa. Thank you.
Goodbye. And shalom to everybody in the chat.